All right, we are here for the premiere season 5 All Stars cast assessment and host draft. I, McKenna, am here with Matt, Gabe, and Mammers as we are going to talk about this season, what we hope to see from our players, what we expect to see, what we maybe hope not to see, and just get things going. Because we have 21 people in our cast and there are only 4 of us, we will have what we are calling a super pick, which will be one randomized person, which will count as points towards every single one of our teams. And then we will also be randomizing our draft order on here as well. We do not know that yet. So Gabe, whenever you're ready to share the screen for our super pick.
Okay, so sec. I can see the screen right here. So this is all from all the players 1 to 21. Just whoever gets picked is that super pick. I'm just going to go ahead and spin it.
Okay.
And our super pick is
This is
It's
so
almost
much.
Antonio. Okay, so
Antonio!
Okay.
we can just start on the from there.
Congratulations, Antonio. You will be starting the game with an idol. No, I'm kidding. You're
No,
not.
no, no, no.
Don't tell him that. Now he's gonna be mad.
But you are our super pick for this
Mhm.
host draft.
That's a good one. I feel like Antonio killed it in season 1. I feel like he had more power than possibly anybody. I feel like him, OJ, and then Corey, I think were really just really had control over that side. And he played very aggressively, which is what ended up getting him. But it still took an idol to get him out. And I think if he made it to the end, he would have had a very good chance.
Antonio was gonna be my first pick. Uh he's just good. He's so good. He plays hard. He's great socially. He's great strategically. He's great, physically. Like he literally can check all 3 boxes of any type of game that he wants to play and be able to adapt that to what he wants to do. So I think that's a very, very strong pick.
We were thinking about how to approach a super pick situation method, the way to put it. We end up choosing randomizer being so fair, but Antonio could have easily been each and every one of our picks. I will say he was
Oh yeah.
up there in my list as well, but like either way, Antonio is a definitely great player, not just in the challenges, but that's definitely the most thing that is shown. Like Matt had mentioned, him being a bit more aggressive. I personally like on paper seeing Antonio's game, I'm like, oh, this shouldn't work. But Antonio makes it happen. He's someone who
Agreed.
definitely I can underestimate, and yet he still proves me time and time again how great he is as a player, easily
I
by far.
completely agree. Completely agree.
It was the same thing in Springfield. Sorry, Julia.
Go ahead, McKenna.
I have never played with Antonio, so I haven't experienced it, which I think most of you have. But my impression
I have
is
not actually. This is my first game right now with Antonio.
Antonio is really like powerhouse your way through, and either it works or it doesn't. And I agree, not many people can play that game, but it sounds like it works for him a lot of the time.
It does.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was. I played with him in Animation Springfield, and it was a similar situation where he had more control of the game than anybody, and it was just very, very aggressive. Like, this is what we're gonna do. This is what we're gonna do, and nobody targeted him. I don't even know if he caught votes. I could be wrong, but I don't know if he even caught votes before Final 5 when he got idled out. And
That's crazy.
the one issue, other than just having a target back, some people, it really is going to depend on the jury if he makes the end with that play style. Some people really are not fans because he will stab people in the back. He will make left and right.
He'll win the game. He'll win that game.
Yeah, but if he has people that respect that kind of strategic gameplay, a lot of the time he plays games where if he gets to the end, he can just be like, look, I did this, and this.
Ironically, since you mentioned it, the only long game I've played with Antonio, he was also idled out. So maybe that's a common theme that he needs to watch out for. I never really thought about that, but yeah. But still very, very great choice of a super pick.
Should we get to randomizing our order?
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share the screen one more time. So this time, if it allows me, one sec.
You can probably just close that browser out if you want to, Gabe.
I would love to, but you can't see it. I'm just going to do it from here instead.
That's fine.
It doesn't allow me to do so on the Zoom as easily.
No worries.
So we're just
There's
going to
only
go
4 of us.
ahead one by one, as in like all 4 of us, first, second, third, fourth, and then we'll do snake draft
Do you
essentially.
want to randomize it real quick there, Gabe? Like shuffle
Oops.
it?
This doesn't count no matter what happens. This doesn't count. This does not count.
I win! It does count! No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead and shuffle it.
Okay. So shuffling 1, 2, 3, 4, since 4 hosts, and
We got it.
we'll go ahead. So first in the snake draft, Matt.
Matt with the first pick.
All right.
Second,
Excellent.
I'm just going to write down the order, not that we. Okay,
It's Gabe.
and third, as well as last but not least, it's Mammers and then McKenna. And this
McKenna,
is
you got your
going to
last
be
pick like you wanted.
So
I know you did.
okay. So
you take my pick.
I'm just gonna go ahead and go to here and order it accordingly.
Look at all those beautiful faces. Look at our all-star cast.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, this
So-
is a very solid cast.
Very solid cast. Very happy with it.
totally. So I know how you guys want to start off. Well, I guess it's Matt's. Take
Matt,
it
yeah,
away.
Matt starts us off.
Who is your first pick?
Right, the person I'm going to go with, I
Dun, dun, dun.
believe is one of the most underrated, but maybe even not so much now. I think now they're finally getting their reputation, but at least for a good while was extremely underrated. My first pick is going to be Tyler Gibson. I think
Oh,
he's a
interesting.
well-rounded player. I think he is the type that can just connect with anybody and can just, he will get information from every person in the game. Everybody is going to think that Tyler is with them until they realize it's too late and he votes him out. I would not be surprised at all if he wins. I'm not sure, has he won before?
I think he has a W somewhere. I can't think of where right now.
I'm not sure.
Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. We'll have to ask him.
Did you win SAS, whatever that org is? Maybe I don't know.
Maybe so.
Oh.
I could see this being his first one.
To me,
I
I mean,
Tyler.
Tyler's. Go ahead.
I was
Go
going to
ahead, Gabe.
say,
McKenna.
I love seeing the first overall pick being a winner of the McKenna's Favorites Award.
Oh my
I can't say
goodness.
I'm surprised, but I think this is a good pick. I think Tyler is someone who will come into the game with enough connections, but not be the person who gets targeted. I think the other connections will get targeted before he does, and that will work to his benefit.
Fair.
I
Gabe, go
was going
ahead.
to, essentially Tyler is someone who he's slightly similar to Antonio in a different way. So whilst he is, I feel like Tyler can be a bit more on the aggressive side in terms of gameplay. He's a bit more subtle, or at least like is aggressive more in a one-to-one stand rather than a whole alliance. It
Agree.
clearly I felt like back in season 3 there were 2 factions and he was the head of the faction. So the obvious problem with that is if he can manage. Now he went out via an advantage plays, but that being said, we do recall Olivia was like preparing to boot him out at least twice throughout that game. So eventually I wouldn't be too surprised if we would have seen his demise. That being said, like as long as he can put down the threat management and has a good sense of a jury management, he would totally lock down a lot of the advantages as well as the social maneuvering through the game, no doubt about it.
I'm going to agree with you on this on this threat level position, because I think that Tyler Gibson is going to be, someone that people are definitely going to, throw around as a big threat in the game, either pre-merge or in merge. I can see it in both. And I think, I just don't have Tyler as high up as maybe you guys do. Like, I wouldn't put him in my top 5 right here. But I think that he is a solid player. He's good strategically. I think that Tyler can lack socially a little bit, not in the sense of being inactive, but can maybe come off a little bossy. But I think he manages it okay with the right people. But is this the right cast for him to be able to manage that is going to be the question. Putting him, say get someone like Cam, who plays a little bit similar, just maybe not as strong. I'd like to see something like that. I want to see him against other people to give him a little bit of a threat, a little bit of a challenge. And I think that he could shine through a game like that.
I will say, from talking to him outside of this, when he played season 3, he was one of the winners of best social game. And I know that he has said that like winning that award changed the way that he plays games, because he never thought of that as his strong suit. And then once he played our Stranger Things season, he saw that he was able to excel socially in a lot of ways, and he is more confident in that, and I think is able to harness it in games and use it strategically more so.
Agree.
One small thing worth mentioning, since we were talking about season 3, I would easily say, like, social point, he definitely was a person that pretty much ran both the swaps for sure that there was, and even early parts of the merge and that faction that I mentioned. Strategically, like, he'll definitely understand game mechanics more than any of the other people, just because I recall how the upside down twist worked. There were other people that understood between understanding it versus gaming it, and he not only gamed it, but like exceeded upon level to actually literally maneuver around maximizing the possibilities of getting the safest way to get the advantages. So I definitely put him up there for strategy as well, worth mentioning.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Gabe,
you're up.
So the person that I would like to pick on my list, it's a bit ironic that we're instantly going to choose a winner. I'm going to choose Chris Miller. He is someone who I believe he is very underrated, despite him having the win. And I'm not even underrating him as like a premier winner or something like that, but rather as a player on the whole. I've seen him win recently as well, I believe RRP as well. And I think he has another win under his belt, so at least 3, but I do not recall the third one. The reason why I'm picking Chris Miller is because I've seen him in both positions of power as well as minority. It happens to be more so in minority, and I never see him abusing his power when he's in the majority. Like, he's a very fair person that can ride the middle, but like without it being without it being unfair or making people bitter enough to go against him because he's dictating things or anything like that. But when he's in the minority, he's also very fair to keep the peace and balance to some degree enough for himself to survive, and then if an opportunity arises, topple over the dynasty or whatever the dynamics are.
Right.
Like, as a potential player, I really have huge faith in Chris himself. I hope he can go far. I'd love to see him win again.
Yeah, I think Chris is one of those people that really combines the physical and strategic game very, very well. He's someone with a very level head. He sees the game as a game, and is very good at keeping his emotions out, not being upset that are, resentful of how the game goes. He just, things don't go his way, he readjusts his game and he keeps going. I think he's the one thing that could screw him over. I think sometimes he is seen as a physical threat, and it's just one of those people that is sometimes an early merge boot, because people just say, look, if he gets to these endurance comps, these kinds of things that he's good at, he can kind of run away with it.
Yeah.
Get a few idols, because he also was great at getting advantages in season 2. But that also can be what gives him the win. If he can get to that point, maybe get an idol or two in his pocket, gets the right challenges near the end, I could see him being a big threat and then slipping away to the end, just like he did in season 2, where people just kind of managed to slip on through.
Right.
The right challenge, play the right advantages, and then he's sitting at the end as someone that no one wanted to get there. And then once he's there, they're like, well, we got to give him credit for it.
Mhm.
Side note, Gabe, do you want to move Antonio to being our super pick, like somewhere on the middle of the names or something?
I was just gonna leave him there till the end.
Oh,
How-
okay. that works too.
Do you want him at the end here?
Oh no, I was thinking like up by our names, but if not, that's okay.
I don't think you can do that. I think you have to put him in a slot.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Never mind then.
We'll have a special place for Antonio in our hearts. And
I will
so-
say my thoughts on Chris. I agree. He's actually not who I thought you were gonna pick, because you and
Same.
I
Oh, I know.
very similar picks, just in everything. Gabe and I do. I had him very high though. I did. I think that what Chris does well is he can play strategically without having people be bitter at him. I think he balances that very well. He exemplifies a strategic game in a way that he can make people understand why he makes the decisions the way that he does, instead of them reacting and just being mad at him for voting them out. And I think that that is a heavy, heavy reason that he won season 2. I think that people could justify his actions to get there, and
Mhm.
they liked him for it, and they weren't mad. So yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you guys. I have not played a lot with Chris Miller, and I've never hosted him before, so I really don't know a whole lot about his game from season 2. But just from what I know from Chris, just from like being around the community and stuff, I have noticed he's very level-headed. He's very calm, in a sense. He's not going to overreact. He's not going to hold. I don't even really necessarily see him being someone that holds a long grudge or anything in a game. I feel like he's very pliable. He can play different types of games, like you guys said, and make it successful. I just don't really know a whole lot about him outside of that, but just from my perception, he's a very smart player. It doesn't surprise me that he went early.
Mhm.
Okay.
I think we're going
All right. So my first pick, I am going to pick the first woman of this draft. I think that she is going to absolutely McSlay it. So Katie McSlay, I would love to have on my team first pick. I think
Yes.
Katie puts the time and effort into the game. I think that she's amazing. It really surprises me that she didn't get farther than she did in her season. I think that she is, great strategically. She's amazing socially. She really lays her game out and thinks about it. And I think that she's an amazing first pick. I can't believe that one of you guys didn't pick her before I did. So I think that, and this cast specifically, I think that she's absolutely going to kill it. I think she's going to connect well socially and be able to hold her own. It's hard to find fault in Katie. It really is.
I think, needless to say, we've all experienced Katie's confessional. Like, she is very, very
Yeah.
active, and we appreciate it so
Very.
much. She even had gotten in one of the social pulse, I recall that she was the most active. She keeps up with people for sure. With that, I do recall her being good at challenges, like really good at challenges as well. I think it all comes down to the one thing that I would be afraid for Katie kind of is if you're on her good side or not, in the sense of socially, sometimes I feel like she could be really against someone, and for fair reasons, and then they would have one conversation with her, like it would be an hour-long conversation, don't get me wrong, but like it would be enough to turn things away. And it's good to be adaptable, but I would definitely hope she is that basically not being too flexible, that she just turns into a what we call a Maltese pin maneuver. I don't know what it's called in English, but essentially like goes by the wind kind of thing.
Yeah,
That being
yeah.
said, she's still a definite A player. Like she gives it
Oh
all
yeah.
and definitely has a great strategic mind as well, because I didn't
I mean,
even
even
mention
putting
that.
her up against like Tyler and Chris ahead of her right now, I feel like she's not as big of a target threat as someone like Gibson, but she's able to play that same caliber of game
Oh
without
yeah.
having that target on her, because maybe she is a little bit more pliable and can connect with the right people at the right times. So I agree though with you. What do you think, McKenna, Matt?
I love Katie. I
I
would be
know.
so excited at work to take my lunch break, put in my
Mhm.
headphones, and listen to 30 minutes of Katie confessionals. And I
Yes,
listen to every second of them.
she's
I think
fantastic.
two things that are cool about Katie from my perspective is one, I know she mentioned during our season that like she is older than a lot of the other players, but she really doesn't feel like it. Like if she'd never
No,
said it, I wouldn't know. Like she can relate to a 22-year-old as well as I can, and I'm 25. And I
right.
also think socially, she's very, I don't know if diverse is the correct word, but a lot of people have types. They work better with men. They work better with women. They work better with this demographic or this
Mhm.
type of person.
We're
This
all
personality.
four right here guilty of saying that we work with better with a certain group than another.
Yeah. And I think that Katie is someone who can literally work with any type of person and that can work to her benefit. She was high on my
Agreed.
list for this season.
Yeah.
And I know how excited she is for it. And I think that she is someone that puts their all into every single
They're
game.
all, yes.
And so
I will have no regrets in picking Katie when it comes to effort. I know that for sure. And that is the reason why I wanted her as my first pick, because I know that she will put the effort in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as McKenna said, she would send us 20, 30, 40 minutes of confessionals a day. She is someone that is always thinking about the game, is ready for any scenario, is think about every single connection, everything going on. She understands it and is processing all of that all the time. I'm so excited to see her brain work again. I'm so excited just to see what she can do with this cast.
Yeah.
And like
All
McKenna
right,
said,
McKenna.
I think,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Matt.
like with McKenna said with the types, I think we have a lot of different types in this cast, like just so many different
Definitely.
personality. So I think that trait could do so well with this cast.
all right. For my first pick, the person that I actually thought Gabe was going to steal from me, that has pretty much been my winner pick since I knew the cast. I am going to take Robert.
Robert.
There it is. Okay.
I hosted Robert in season 2, and I just hosted Robert in Survivor Fan Jury Games as well. And I think Robert has an essence about him that make people want to align with Robert. They get excited about the idea of him wanting to align with them, and they don't
Mhm.
want to vote him out. Like, who's going to be
Yeah.
the jerk that sets up the blind side on Robert? Like, oh, you don't like that person. I think Robert is very good at I don't want to say putting people under his spell, but socially including people in his group and making them feel like if I can't win or succeed, I want Robert to succeed. And so I think he does a very good job managing his threat level through his social skills, and not to mention he's very good at challenges as well.
Robert is literally was one of my favorites and still is. No, Robert's definitely up there for me. His social game, I do think, is very impressive. He was booted not at 9th place, and I do think it's one of the few injustices of season 2 because he definitely deserved to go a lot further. But I do have a lot of stock into Robert. I also was intending to put him as my winner pick. The only small thing that made a difference is he recently played Survivor Fan Jury and he did a great job in that. But because he did such a great job, I'm like, maybe people would know that he's really good at the game. That's the only thing
Right.
that would make me
Worry
question
for him.
if it's so fresh in people's minds, maybe. But yeah, Robert, I do recall he was also sadly voted out with an idol as well, so it was a proper blindside. That being said, I think Robert, as McKenna mentioned, has this charisma about him that he can easily flow through the game and be pulled into alliances rather than needs to put initiative himself. And not that he doesn't care or anything like that, but he's that magnetizing as a person.
Right.
Absolutely. He has such a great energy. Your day is just better after you talk to him after. He's,
Yeah, there is.
I think his sense of humor can win a lot of people over.
Mhm.
And I think the fact that he won't be overly aggressive, but very likable is a great combination to just slip through to the end and win it all.
Okay, so I don't know Robert at all. I've never met him. I other than I'm playing Game On right now and he's hosting us, but I mean he's a mod, so he's not there all the time. But I literally have no idea about Robert, and I wasn't around for season 2, so I literally cannot give any assessment on Robert because this will be the first time I'll see him play. Will be this season. So I just heard what you guys have told me about Robert and how great he is, and he's very, very nice and kind. So I'm excited to see how he does. I'm excited to see why he's McKenna's first pick. So I'll be keeping my eyes open.
All right. Unless anybody has anything else, McKenna.
All right, my second pick.
Don't take my person, McKenna.
I don't think I am.
Oh,
For my second pick, I'm going to pick the reigning winner of McKenna's favorite, and I am going to take Dylan.
Okay.
oh.
Oops.
And yes, Dylan's sign says OJ is scared.
Yes, it does. I have now hosted Dylan twice. He has made it to the end of both games. Also made it to the end with me of a game that we played. That is his thing. He makes it to the end of games. He always does. I don't know how he does. Well, I
He
do.
made it to Inambroski.
We had a conversation once where he said, well, I could get targeted, but I'm not going to. And I said, why not? And Dylan said, people don't vote me. And I said, what do you mean they don't vote you? And he said, people don't vote me out of games. They don't write my name down. That it just doesn't happen. In X amount of seasons,
Interesting.
I've had like 4 total votes cast against me, 2 of which were nullified, blah, blah, blah. People don't vote me out. And it's true. Thinking about it, people do not try to vote him out of games. We sat in season 4 and watched people plan to, and then he would call them and they'd say, never mind, I'm not going to vote out Dylan. I think
Magical man.
Yeah, I think from playing with him and discussing strategy with him, he's very, very smart, knows what to do, and I don't know. I really think that it would not shock me if he won again. It really wouldn't.
Yeah, I could definitely see it. I think he's another just incredibly well-rounded player. He's good at strategy. He can win challenges. He can get advantages like crazy. He's good socially. And I think, yeah, like McKenna said, he's great at getting to the end. And usually when he gets there, he has a good resume. Now, of course, he does have a reputation of getting second sometimes, but I still feel like in this case, I could see him doing very well and getting the win.
I think
So go ahead, Gabe.
I was going to say Dylan is definitely up there as winner. We've all, or at least we've discussed about the idea of, oh, how is it going to work with X winners with our target on their backs? And I do think it will affect some of the winners. But ironically, like now I had chosen Chris as well, but Dylan was also someone who was like, I think he can sink or swim to some degree about it. I can see him definitely going far. We had also talked about the Epic host team, and personally, I do think that from the host team, he has one of the stronger chances to make it far into the season. Obviously, enough where it depends on the social dynamics and everything, but yeah. I do recall that I believe, like, obviously he's a winner and that's just part of it. I want to say that in his season he had the votes, most percentage of votes for boots. Okay, I see. That's actually one other player, but still, it was very high. He always knew what was going on, basically, for every single vote that there was, and that's what makes him a very dangerous but very great player.
I'll add, I think across all our winners, I really don't see this being a cast or winners or a season where there'll be much talk of the winners. Like,
No,
I don't
I agree with you, McKenna.
I don't think having won our game is going to affect almost at all, if any, into how the season goes.
No, I 100%
Yeah.
agree with you on that.
Yeah, I think at least half this cast probably has at least one win here or there that people know about.
Mhm.
Some that you know.
I do think an org win of the same org is higher than of another org, so to say.
Yeah.
But I will say somehow we only have three winners out of 21 players. I don't think that's too big of a target. It's not like there's 7 winners running around that can easily
Right.
get majority or something. Like, I don't think it's that threatening. And yeah, so I do agree with McKenna that it's not going to be that big of a deal.
So unlike Robert and Chris, I am very familiar with Dylan. I've played with Dylan. I've hosted Dylan before. He's very familiar around the community, and I agree with McKenna. He does make it far. He does a good job maneuvering through games. I think that Dylan is also somebody who, like McKenna said, can deter you away from him, either in a good way or a bad way. You know, if someone's targeting Dylan, he's got a good way of kind of turning it around. But if somebody is with Dylan as well, he does a good job of keeping that ally close and getting that information, you know, from them and to be able to save himself if needed. Dylan's also, I feel like, I don't know about your guys this season, but I feel like he's decent at finding advantages. He's decent at earning advantages.
Very much.
So I very much so. So I think that, you know, just that alone can really propel his game. I'm a little worried for Dylan in the sense of maybe being a threat once he gets far into merge. And there's, you know, say a lot of these other bigger threats leave, you know, earlier, and we're sitting at final 8 and Dylan is there. I can very much see Dylan being a very big possibility to go home from threat level, or, you know, either threat level on comps or threat level to win the game. I do think that this cast is perfect for him. I think that we have lined Dylan up with a very, very successful cast for him to be good in. So I don't see him having an issue aligning with Katie, with Olivia, with Lauren, with Fred. Like, these are all high possibilities that I can see happening, you know, and that's, you know, at least a fourth of the cast that I just listed right there. So I think that he's going to be very successful with alliances, very successful with advantages. So it doesn't surprise me that Dylan goes, you know, back to back right next to Robert. Doesn't surprise me at all.
Totally.
Totally. Okay. All right. Sorry, I'm like looking really close because it's really tiny. Okay. I think I'm going to go ahead and take. I think I'm going to go ahead and take Derek.
Derek, okay.
Yep. I think Derek's going to be my pick. I think Derek is probably one of the nicest people I've ever met. Like, you just don't want to vote that man out. Like, you just absolutely don't. I think he's going to be able to align and relate to anybody on this cast. I think he's going to be a favorite among everyone. You know, he makes you feel good. I just don't see him having any adversity or any challenges in that way. I don't know how Derek is physically. You guys have to kind of fill me in on that. I'm guessing he's pretty decent. So I feel like it's a strong pick for myself to be able to, you know, win with some placement points for sure. McKenna, I want you to talk about Derek. Come on, let's hear the gushing.
I will say, I think it benefits Derek that Tad is not playing this season, because I think Derek hasn't played a lot, but him and Tad as a duo and as like a bromance was such a story of season 3 that I think, I don't know if they would have been seriously targeted for it, but I think it's something that would have been in the back of the minds of other season 3 players maybe. And when you see Derek, you know he's a loyal guy. Like, he's loving, he's loyal, and he's not gonna, you wouldn't expect that he's just gonna vote out or blindside Tad after watching how close they
Right.
were in season 3. And I feel like now he has the opportunity for other people to come in and say, I want to be Derek's Tad. I saw how dedicated he was to his person. And
Right.
if he's able, because we know how lovable he is and socially well good he is, if he's able to get like 3 or 4 people fighting to be his Tad, I think that could put him in a really good position.
Yes.
On honestly, what I want to say about Derek, it's very weird to say it, but he's definitely underrated for how season 3 shook out. So Derek hasn't played that many games. That being said, so I do agree with McKenna. It's a good thing that Tad isn't around. For sure, when it comes to the pre-merge, I do recall that there were 3 people in particular running it. There was Cameron, Tyler Gibson, and Derek. And I don't think many people recall Derek. Don't get me wrong, there were other people
Right.
like, let's say, Mandy and others, but Derek had a great sense to socially connect with people and really veer the target away off of other people, such as
Right.
Tad or whoever the tribe was. He had a great sense of doing that. The problem that Derek had somehow it was that he was aligned with people that were big threats in the community, and people just assumed. I felt like people assumed that because Derek is being loyal, then that clearly means that Derek must be inferior to who he's loyal against, just because Derek didn't have that org reputation and was a lot more newer to the community. I hope that whatever happens, that Derek is seen a lot more as a player of what the season of the season's actions rather than as a person he's coming in. And
Right.
yes, I ironically hope that they see him a bit more of a threat. I do think other people need to put down their threat level, whereas Derek might need to show off a bit so that way he
Yeah.
would succeed a bit more. But I definitely love Derek as well.
Yeah.
Almost as much as the next person who will probably comment.
Derek. Everyone knows I love Derek. Of all the people to win the Matt's favorite award, he is my favorite.
Well, you should have picked him.
So Derek has this very positive, great energy. Like he's just the kind of guy I would be surprised if there's anybody in the world that dislikes Derek. I think normally I would be saying I don't think he knows much of anyone, which could screw him over. And it still might, I could see there being enough, existing connections that he could be left out, but I don't know. I think he's not coming up with the same threat level as people, but he just has the social game where he can just make up for it right away.
Agree.
Might not even
I
matter.
think he's gonna go far. I don't know why, but I've got this good feeling about it. I think he's gonna make it.
Yeah, I think he can just, kind of like I said with Robert, just slip under the radar. He doesn't have this big threat level, but everyone's gonna love him. Nobody's gonna want to vote him out. How can you vote on either? It's not an easy thing to do. So yeah, I could see him just slipping into the end, and then he's just the guy that everybody loves. And as Gabe said, it's not just social game. He knows how to play the game, and if he can get a resume along the way, he can just slip on in and win the whole thing.
Yeah.
The one thing
Also,
I'm
the
really
cute baby that he can
Yeah.
show people, and who could vote out the baby.
The baby, he's winning.
That's right.
the one thing
Baby
that
wins.
hesitates me a bit about Derek, sadly, is I played with him in game 1, and he was fine in the pre-swap. When it came to the post-merge, at that point, he happened to be running around on a vacation-like thing, which obviously is fair to put time elsewhere. So other people had felt that Derek wasn't around, which, that's just a vacation.
Right.
He happens to be enrolled into a master's program right now, or will be when the season starts. So that's makes me hold my breath a bit, hoping that he can manage the time between work, education, family, as well as adding on to an org. We all know how time consuming this all can be, whilst his season might have had a lot of twists. He wasn't really involved in too many of them, but
Right.
and the season won't be that it won't be as bad as some other seasons in terms of time management, but still a all-star season. So the cast
Right.
itself will amp up the consumption of time. So hopefully, I do hope that Derek can manage that well.
Right.
Not sure if anyone else has anything to say about Derek.
I love
Go
you,
ahead,
Derek.
Gabe.
Okay. The my pick, my second pick, ironically also from the same season. This person is someone who I also thought had a great sense of social skills and decent manipulation towards the game in swerving one way or the other. My next pick is Jody. Jody is a South African orger, so
Wow, this really
um,
surprises me, Gabe. Go ahead.
so obviously, since I'm international, I know you have to be crazy nuts to be playing a season which is American time zoned. But Jody, I wouldn't have been too surprised if maybe other hosts might not have had him. Not that he is bad or anything like that. Like he's actually really good. But obviously, I don't think he has necessarily the same amount of connections as other people have in this game potentially.
Right.
I do think Jody definitely had a very early departure to season 2, and he was very much at one at a long time the player to beat almost, and at least top 2 or for a long time in my eyes.
Right.
Um, I just like he's such a fun-loving character as well as someone who no, I feel like knows the timings on when to let an alliance go and when to stick to them and makes you feel like to stick to them very far. I know
Right.
from the South African community he is more known a lot more as a villain, and despite him doing villainous things in season 2, I don't think people see him as badly as I've heard his reputation is. So I do think people would be very open to working with Jody here. And I
Mhm.
feel like his social skills will serve well. And even in season, all the people from season 2, I think all of them feel favorably towards Jody, which I can't say the same about other sets of people.
I love Jody. I don't think that's a secret. I think his personality is one of the most fun, if not the most fun to host that we've ever had, in my opinion.
Mhm.
And on top of that, I think he's very smart, and I think he can play a cutthroat game, but a very socially cutthroat game.
Mhm.
So I absolutely contemplated picking Jody as well. Um, he was one of my favorites, and I think I doubt he'll know many people in the cast. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. So I really, really hope that does not hurt him. But
Yeah.
I feel like Jody is someone that if I met in a game for the first time, I'd be excited to want to work with them. And so I think that he can have that same effect on a lot of this cast as well.
Yeah, Jody is definitely somebody I was hoping to pick if we got to it. I think he was half of the Dastardly duo that just
Mhm.
completely ran a huge chunk of season 2. I think he, as we kind of say, he could be very cutthroat and then have people still vote for him at the end, not have any hard feelings, and just still like the guy after he stabs him in the back. I could see him. I think he's very well rounded. I think if he can get another good duo, another good ride or die like he had in season 2, I think they could just run away with it.
I think Jody's very, very nice. Very, very nice person. I think he has, like McKenna said, a very infectious personality. I haven't had too many run-ins with him, just here and there. But very, very nice person. I think that I just personally think that the connections thing is going to hurt him here. I think he could be like a very, easy vote if, say we get the perfect blend of people on a tribe and Jody's the odd one out. I could definitely see him being one that could go early. So that's my only worry for Jody, but I think that he plays a very, very strong game. And like, if he can get past the initial couple, say his tribe wins the first couple of the challenges, I think that he could soar if he can just get over that little bit hump of not knowing people as well. So I hope that he's able to do that.
I will agree that I can see the potential of him being like swap screwed or something along those
Yeah.
lines. That being said, he was actually swap screwed, I recall, in season 2, but he overcame it, and even
Wonderful.
it's been a while, but I do recall that they were really in the shit. Him, Michael, and I won't say someone else, and despite things not going their way, like Jody, if they went to another tribal, Jody still should have been actually safe and would have been the
Word.
last of his tribe on that swap tribe, according to the confessionals. Obviously, I wasn't in one-to-ones back then.
Right.
But yeah, so like obviously I clearly have faith in Jody since I picked him second, but still.
I think that might have been when Jules and Kyler flipped with the.
I can check it. I thought it was the Aaron vote out, so the one prior.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yes,
I'm
that
on
one.
my charger, so I'll be right back.
You're good.
Do you want to wait for Matt to pick his next pick, McKenna?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
All
Matt?
right.
Finally, Matt, you're back here. It's been a while.
Been a
I get
while.
to.
This is already getting so difficult because look at this cast. I really feel like there's not a single person up here that like I'm like, oh, they're not gonna win. I could very easily see any of these people winning.
Okay.
I'm deciding between a safe pick and a risky pick. I'm gonna start with a safe pick. I'm gonna go with Shay. I think
That's a good
Shay
pick,
is
okay.
also somebody that people just love in the game. I think she has the ability to be strategic. I think she can really, I think she was, one of the people that just absolutely dominated the last season, without a
Yeah.
doubt.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, the only two things I would say that would worry me is one, I do think because she plays in a different part of the community, I don't know that she'll have a lot of connections. Although I actually think since the game, she's actually developed more connections with people on the side of the community. So that could be different, but by this point,
one good thing about Shay is she's branching out and making connections outside of games. She's not even doing this in games. Like she has been outside of games, reaching out to people and creating friends. So in the game, we already know that she has that ability.
Yeah.
And they are genuine friendships, by the way, not just
absolutely.
like ends.
Yeah, she is the kind of person, like, not only out of the game, like you said, but like in games, she doesn't just make connections where people like her in the game and then they part ways. Like she makes genuine, lasting connections. She makes friends that will, continue to be friends for a very long time. The only other thing that will worry me a little bit is I do worry she might play a bit too emotionally. I think that was the one fatal flaw that probably cost her the win that she, had a very good shot at in season 4. I think if she can put that aside, because it's two sides of the same coin with these genuine connections, is that it does make things difficult when certain moves need to be made. If she can make those moves and maybe play a little bit more cutthroat, I think she.
So when we were talking back about Dylan, so it's actually Shay who has equal amount of votes for Boot, but percentage-wise, she has the best. Shay had her finger on the pulse when it comes to social, for sure. She had 2 of the stronger advantages in that game. She had a great shot to win, for sure. Well, at least I felt like she had a great game to show for. I think it comes down to the just very, very end game, essentially, where she felt like there was a choice of either screwing over close friends to potentially get the win versus guaranteeing that the winner will be someone that she will be satisfied with. And this is something that you can find in other players here, even in this cast. And I wouldn't knock it out too much because ironically, things won't necessarily go your way, even though yes, it's Shay. So perhaps like things will serendipitously occur on its own, where she will be the last to survive of an alliance, which I can definitely see her doing that and making it far. I feel like she knows how to play both sides and flies under the radar really, really well. There's a lot of good things to say, Shay. Hey. And she's surprisingly really great at challenges.
Yeah.
Like
I can't believe
she
we're
has
just
the
not talking about this. She's
she has the
amazing at
record.
challenges.
She has the record. The one thing that potentially what I've noticed from stats is she's either really great at them or she'll be out early.
Yeah.
But either way, like if there's a challenge, clearly bet on Shay. It will get you the points like half the times apparently or so. But I feel like even despite people playing with her knowing that she's good at challenges, if there's any kind of secret challenge or anything like that, she could win like the app game or that occurred, and no one would really suspect that it's necessarily her per se. Things like that.
My turn.
Sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm changing my
sorry.
AirPods. They just died, so I'm going to my backup.
Yeah, I think what Shay's strength is people don't know the game that she's playing until it's too late. A lot of the time, she's very good at kind of hiding how many people she's good with, how much of a middle position she's in. And I feel like I've heard that consistently across a couple games. The only thing is, will she be able to explain it at the end and get that respect from the jury? And I think she's a good speaker, and I think she definitely can. I think if Dylan is not in the end of season 4, she wins. I really do.
Yeah.
And so I think that is her strong suit. And I really hope she does well. I don't know how many people here she knows. Probably not many. And I'm hoping that
No,
is
I don't think
something
many.
that's to her benefit, because I know when I go into a game, I prefer to not know people. And I think that Shay is the same way. And I think that helps her because, like I said, she can hide her game. And so it's good that people have no perception of her. They don't know what she's doing.
Yeah, it's actually it's so crazy and honestly not reflective of what the jury was thinking that she was at the end of zero vote finalist, because there were so many people that were on the fence that it was just no way from actually being very close. It was so
very
much
close.
And I mean, it's just insane that because she had two of the most powerful advantages. She played an extremely strong game, had all these connections, and she didn't even need the advantages. She just made it to the end because nobody realized what she was doing and nobody wanted to target her. Nobody wanted to vote her out.
She played a very under the radar game, but it was so dynamic. Like she really, I mean, and I wouldn't even say she played under the radar because she won that many immunity challenges, but strategically, people had no idea that she was running a lot of things, or that she was at least in tune with a lot of things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I think we can cut it a little short. We're getting a little farther in the draft, so it's easier to talk about people.
All right. So I said that was my safe pick. I'm gonna go ahead and go with my risky pick. I'm gonna go with Michael. And if this was a newbie season, Michael would have been my first pick. I think Michael played the most, at least top 3, possibly the most dominant game of Premier. I think he was making moves constantly, but not in a way that was putting a target on his back. I don't know how, but he was able to just play aggressively, organize blind sides, stab people in the back, and he just wasn't, his name just still wasn't really thrown around all that much.
Right.
I think he won challenges, he got advantages, he had these connections, he was strategic, he was making moves. I think Michael is the full package. The one thing that got him at the end was, of course, just when you play that cutthroat game, You have to have the right jury. You have to have the people that respect that. But if he could do that again, and if he can find another, strong duo like he did, maybe stab them in the back again. And he has the people that respect that kind of cutthroat gameplay. I could very easily see Michael win. The only reason I say it's a risky pick is I don't think he has a ton of connections, and I think the connections he does have are going to screw him over. Because, like I said, if this was newbie, I would be first. The only thing I'm worried about is you've got people from season 2 that have seen that gameplay and are possibly still have a bit of hard feelings about it. And they might just not trust him, not put that same level of trust that they used to have in him again.
I remember when I stepped in for season 2 and helped you guys out. And I remember one of the first things, like one of the most like pristine things I remember was Michael's game during that game. And his confessionals were fantastic. He really laid it out on what he wanted to do and how he wanted to do it. And it was great to see him like plan and go and implement. And his game was just so different too. Like it wasn't a typical like dynamic game. He was dynamic, but he wasn't dynamic. Like he was a front runner, but he wasn't. And I remember like you and Gabe and McKenna like really talking about Michael and his game, especially toward the end, saying that he very well could have slipped through and won that whole game.
Mhm. I recall particularly in Michael's game, so dominant, he was top 4 in the winner predictions the entire time, minus one singular round where like things got intense and he was contemplating whether to quit or not. He didn't, but it was a bit lower just in case. But still, and for the most times, he had first place for quite a while as well. But in the end, it's not just about winner predictions of the past. Like what Michael has great going towards him, for sure, is how great he can maneuver in the game. I would definitely hold my breath a bit just out of other games that he's played. I don't think necessarily that'll help his reputation with a cast like this. That being said, I think everyone knows Michael being a bit more of a villain. I do wonder if he'd compensate for it this time round, be a lot more of a hero, play a different game. I wouldn't be too surprised if he happens to try for a heroic game, and I do think he can actually make it work. I think when he played, it was his first Survivor game. And there are things that you want to try. Your first blindside, your first idle play, and then after a while, at least I experienced that, you wanting to do a lot of big things. And after a while, then maybe now after the games he's played, maybe he'd play a bit safer. Maybe he was under the radar for a good while, but like stay under the radar on purpose, like do things that are more to help his longevity rather than flashy, perhaps.
Yeah.
And I think this is potentially a side of Michael that we could see, and we just don't know it yet, basically. And that would be a great reason for him to make it far enough and secure the win.
Definitely.
Yeah. I think one thing that he does have going for him is just because it's all stars, he does have these kind of bigger names in the community around that will keep the target, hopefully keep the target off of his back a bit. The season 2 connections, like I said, might screw him over, but people from the other seasons might not know enough about his game where they could still put a lot of trust in him like people did in season 2.
I'm gonna say no surprise, but I was actually thinking almost the exact same thing as Gabe, in the sense of I could see him playing a different game, or at least starting playing a different game. Like I think I could see him playing an under the radar, loyal, like nice guy game until the final 9, and then he flips on that strategy.
Oh yeah.
Glitch that we saw so much of season 2, and then it's just like the players don't know what hit them, and the Michael train just plows through until he's sitting in the final 3. And I agree. I think I feel like I've gotten less cutthroat as a player the more orgs that I've played, and I think that that is a little bit of a trend. I actually didn't know that we were his first Survivor game until you just said that, but I think that even backs it up a little bit more. Um, I'm excited to see Michael again. Not that I'm not excited to see other people. I'm excited to see everyone, but Michael isn't someone that I talk to. He's not someone that I am friends with, and I hear about other games that they're playing. I don't watch him play a lot of other games. It's really only Premier, and he did so good the first
He
time
is.
that,
Mhm.
well, I don't want to have the expectation of that because it's almost impossible to repeat, but also I just want to see it again. Like I want to see,
Yeah.
I'm excited to get to watch someone that I don't watch, that I don't see in the community of people that I personally, the circle I'm in, a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, he very much could be a next OJ, where he just is able to play that dynamic game like every time. Maybe it doesn't matter the cast. We don't know, until we see him play amongst these people. But he just could have that effect where he just is able to just get through it.
Yeah, like I said, he is my risky pick. I think Michael's either gonna kill it or he's gonna be an early boot. I don't see
Yeah.
there being too much in between. Maybe a early merge boot, but I think there's a lot of factors, and I'm really excited to see what happens with that. All right, I think we're good. Gabe.
Okay. I was contemplating between how I hadn't prepared maybe enough with the lists or along the lines, and as the people dwindle down, looking at it, I'm thinking and want to take a different approach. I was thinking of choosing someone, but um, between our comments and everything, I want to switch it up. I want to choose someone who has a great chance to make it far, as well as I think are also, ironically, potentially a bit underrated, and that would be Molly. Molly is someone
Oh,
who
you took my pick.
You took my
You
pick too.
dog. You dog.
Molly, I didn't do this strategically or anything like that, but like Molly is someone who everyone knows is connected to a lot of people, but at the same time,
Most recognizable orger out there.
Mhm.
I've said it. She is. She's the most recognizable orger of them all.
I will say like a random thing about her. Okay, before I go to specifics, she is someone who I feel like can easily get pulled into alliances and be seen as someone that people know as connection. I've seen her pretty much all over the board before. I do recall in all-star like seasons, she could end up being um a pre-merge pick boot. But that being said, I do have the confidence with this kind of cast, she would actually excel. And
I
I feel
agree.
like the connections won't really turn on each other necessarily, but they could definitely go far. To me, Molly is someone who can definitely not, if they do turn on each other, she wouldn't be the first target to go up, and she would be someone that other people are kind of like magnetized to talk to. When it comes to
Right.
specifics, back in season 3, she was literally in half the alliances in that game, half, and she created 0 of them. Like
Zero of them.
she was pulled in, I want to say 18 out of 36. That's a lot of freaking group chats with the 2 swaps that we had and everything. She's definitely a phenomenal player, and she was 1 vote away from winning. Now, that obviously comes with its own perks as to how that occurred, but I have like great confidence that she would be able to make a good run in this game. Not to mention her timing also, I do believe, was impeccable when she took out, for instance, Cameron, and as well as letting Tad go, not going to rocks in that sort of regard. She was seen as someone who would be a tight or whatever. And also, there was this weird dynamic I remember where it was, is it going to be Molly versus Tad at some point? She's kind of, because of her connections, she's adaptable enough to sway whichever way she wants. And even in the second swap, she basically got to pick who goes home in that entire second swap. But anyways,
Right.
like I'm confident other people have a lot more comments than I have about Molly as to why she's great. So I'll let you guys take the floor.
Well, Molly's amazing. Let's just start there. Obviously very, very familiar with Molly. I'm very good friends with Molly. I know how social she is. Like Dave said, she is in half those alliances, and she probably kept up with every single one of them. You know, like she probably never fudged up anything. And I just think that she, like I said, she's the most recognizable order out there. Everyone knows her, but she still makes it far in games. She can still make it to the end. I played as her number one ally in the Tale of Eras mini, and she won that. So she just is great. I love her personality. I think she's a blossoming person. It's hard to not like Molly, and I think that she's able to make connections easy. Molly could literally be a number one with any single person on this cast. Any single person, I could see her being a number one too. And I think that's really dynamic of her to be able to, you know, maneuver that. I think the floor is hers with this cast. I think she'll be able to align or go wherever she wants. I don't think she'll have many enemies, and I just don't really see any reason for these people to vote Molly out. Looking at you know, on a broader spectrum, she can also hold up challenge wise too. So, I mean, I think that Molly's a great pick. I'm surprised Molly didn't go earlier than what she did. Honestly, it was a great cast, but I'm really surprised she didn't.
I
I do.
also love Molly. I agree. I think the first time we hosted her, I had no exposure to Molly. Like I had heard that she played Game On. Like,
Really?
I knew
Wow.
nothing of her. And then she came in and I thought, okay, she's just like a social player. Like she just makes people like her and that's her games. And then I watched her confessionals and I was like, oh, this girl's smart. Like she knows what she's
Yeah.
doing. She knows that she should flip to this group at this point in time because the numbers go this way. And I was sitting there and I was like, wow, let's go, Molly.
McKenna said no faith.
No, it wasn't that I had no faith. It was just like I had only heard her so heavily praised for social game, never strategic game.
Right.
So it was just unexpected, but it was like a good, unexpected, a pleasant surprise, I guess I would say.
Yeah.
And now like I know Molly and she's so fun that like if I win in a game, I want to hang like I don't want to vote on Molly because I want to continue hanging out with her in the game. And so,
Exactly. You want to call Molly and talk with Molly?
yeah.
Yeah, I think Molly is just someone that obviously everyone loves. I think that's might be one of the most obvious things we'll say tonight. I think she could have a lot of connections that could help her out. The one thing that worries me a little bit, I've seen her sometimes be a little bit too reliant on these connections, but I've also seen games
Yeah.
where she was able to just like have people like Derek in our season that she didn't know and was able to make these really strong connections. So if as long as she's proactive with these relationships, I think she's just so easy to get along with that, like you guys said, I
Right.
don't think anybody's going to want to go after. And like we said with Derek, I think Tad not being here is going to really benefit Molly's game. She doesn't have this reputation of someone overshadowing her, and even if she ended up having that, she showed in season 3 that she's willing to make these moves, these hard, more cutthroat moves that could get her the win at the end of the game.
Can I
Right.
add one thing?
Yes.
I feel like Molly is unfairly labeled because you said she does know so many people, she is friends with so many people. I think she's unfairly labeled as a friend Viver person. And from what I've
Agreed.
heard, and Gabe, you would probably have more insight to this than I would. Like I heard that in LCA when she played, she was left out of votes for people thinking she wouldn't vote them out because they're friends. And she was down for those things. She was saying in her confessional, I want to vote this person out because it's best for my game. Like she was actively trying to not just play with her friends, but that some people didn't really give her that chance and consideration. And so I hope that that is something that she doesn't deal with in our season.
I can agree with that and say I confirm it as well. That was simply a thing that was going on back in LCA. One thing as well, very different. Mammers had said she that she feels like Molly is someone that can easily be number one with absolutely anyone, which is true. I think the great thing about Molly isn't that she is able to be number ones with other people, but rather she is able to, I think her strong suit is being other people's number twos, number threes, and vice versa, where she's a lot more adaptable and more fluid in the game because of it, rather than I don't feel personally that her game style is more of a, not that she can't be a ride or die, but like a
Right.
fixed point, or at least if she has a duo, that other duo also has to be equally as fluid and flexible,
Right.
basically. Just to point that out there. That would be a great way for her to win. When it comes to Premier versus other orgs, I do think I hope she's really invested in our orgs, but I do feel it because I feel like McKenna had mentioned, she could be unfairly labeled into a certain slot.
Friend Viber aspect. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And I think when it comes to Premiere, she's unlocked a different side of her in the sense of like over here, she's known as someone who is strategic. She's known as being a villain, which is something she was so excited to get. She half complained that she was sharing the villain role rather than having it all on her own. And I think it's kind of like if the drive is still there, like it would make her even more flourish in this particular game. And yeah, I think it's easy to have someone like Molly basically between breaking the mold and also being not underestimated but thought of differently than her actual playstyle will be, which could be to her benefit. Okay. Manners, you think you can go ahead with your next pick if you have
Yeah.
it ready.
Okay. So I'm really torn between three people. There's three people I think that like are all even on my board right now. And I'm trying to figure out which one McKenna wouldn't pick. So I'm trying to I'm trying to figure out which one would be left over for me to pick anyway. I think I'm going to go with I think I'm going to go with Ed. And the reason why I'm going to go with Ed is because I've played with Ed. I've kind of hosted Ed a little bit, or like co-host with Ed. But I have played with Ed before, and I think that Ed, huh?
Okay, you're back. I couldn't hear you for a second.
She
Oh,
was
can you
fine,
guys
by the
hear
way.
me?
I could hear you all the time, by the way.
Oh, okay. I think that Ed has that special, I don't know how to explain Ed's game, but he's just got this special thing where people, if he can find that right ally, he can go really far. I think that he's kind of like Katie in a way where he can explain his game well. He's able to lay it out. He's able to, conversate about his game and talk to the host and explain what he's going to do. I feel like he's not a very paranoid person. I feel like he can be a little bit grounded and be able to hold his own. Socially, I think that Ed can be social. My personal experience with Ed is I just could not align with him socially as well. But I think that he does give the effort. He does try. And I think that he's good with challenges and advantages. We've seen him make it far in many games. So I think that for me, picking him as my third pick, I think it's pretty strong. I do.
I love Ed. Obviously, he was a mod for us for a while. And I feel like Ed is due for his win.
Yeah.
I feel like I can feel it coming in the sense of I've seen Ed in a lot of games have to play from the bottom, have to play sort of like an underdog hero, like if he can make it there, like everyone's rooting for him type game.
I agree.
He just misses out. I feel
he
like
does.
I that's like the image that I see of Ed when I think of him as a player, and it's so unfortunate because like they just vote him out because there's probably a bunch of people in the jury chat rooting for him. I will say I also have heard that Ed has a reputation as a flipper, which I don't understand. I personally have never
I don't either. Neither have I.
In any game
I think he's pretty loyal.
Hosted, seen, or played with Ed. I know that is like something that people talk about, and I genuinely don't know why. I mean, maybe it happened once and it's just one of those things that stick with you.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I feel like specifically in this type of all-star season, like I feel like there's like the really coy players, there's the really aggressive players, and then there's the in between. And I think that Ed is kind of that in between. Like he is an archetype that ends up winning all-star type games, if that makes sense.
I agree. And you know what? And I agree with you, McKenna. And I think that if he could just be like that 20% more assertive at that final six, final five, I really think that he could turn a game around and in favor to win. But he just, I don't know, he's just got that soft, mentality, that easy, pliable, game at final five, final six. That's an easy vote. If you don't want to vote or turn on your allies or vote someone out. So I think that if he can just be a little bit more assertive and really take a hold of that game at final seven, final six, I think that he could have a really great shot to win. And I think that he easily can get to that final six and final seven. He just has to really push then at that point in time. And I think that he struggles with that.
Yeah, and another thing that has been mentioned is he's one of our under the radar challenge beasts. He won, I think, 4 challenges.
Yeah, 4.
in season
Yeah.
one. They wanted him out for so long
Yeah.
in season 1, and they just couldn't get him. He just managed to slip through, or he'd win the challenge, and that's what got him all the way to the end. Like McKenna said, I think what screwed him over is just winding up in that position where he was never able to get his footing in. And so when he was up against OJ managed to get the win because he was able to have that strong position and call a lot of the shots. But if it wasn't for that, and honestly, if they could have voted out OJ at Final Four, I think Ed had a very good shot of winning.
Oh yeah, agreed.
I definitely agree with that. One thing for the sake of it that hasn't been mentioned, for like we've all played with Ed, we've all played with Ed here, and mostly we know him from way back through Corey Zorg, roughly
Yeah.
season 10 or 9 or whatever. So obviously he's played a couple of games. I would say what I'll say might not still be true. He had this thing for sure back in the day where I feel like there's 2 sides of it. One side is very calm and like takes things day by day almost, in the sense of like going by the flow. And then it can flip on a dime in terms of like, if there's a move that looks juicy, he's gonna cut a bitch, like he says, and go for it
Yeah.
all out. I haven't seen that side of Ed recently, I will admit, but
He needs to
ironically,
come back to those roots, man.
it could work out for him or it could not. But I do think he doesn't lose a game for his I feel like he wouldn't lose a game for his final 5 or final 6 moves, but more so whatever reputation he could get a bit somewhere in the early pre-merge. So I feel like if he can be part of a great final 9, final 8 kind of move and try to be a bit more dominant in that portion of the game, it could work out for him. And that would, I feel like if he touches the end, then he would definitely win. But, I'm not strongly opposed to how Ed currently plays or anything like that. He's definitely up there. He's
Yeah.
returning for a good reason. He played an excellent game back in season 1, and we are definitely excited to see him back in.
Okay.
All right. For my next pick, I am going to take Julia.
Damn it! That's the one I was hoping you wouldn't take.
I was just thinking I
My
might go.
plan did not work.
Sorry.
Go ahead, McKenna.
And remember, I get 2, so she's
Yeah.
definitely going to be one of them. I don't know. I feel like I said this about Dylan too. Maybe this is how I'm building my team. And I kind of said this about Robert. I guess this is my theme. I feel like in games that I've seen Julia play, like people just don't vote her out.
They need to.
I am at the moment currently realizing that all three of the people on my team I just hosted in Survivor Fan Jury Games.
Yeah.
Gracious.
Julia was not the most talkative in the beginning of that season, and she still had people that were going to bat for her and were saying, I would pretty much rather screw up my game than vote out Julia. People love Julia, and I
They
think
do.
she has the reputation of like the funny, like cool girl, if that makes sense. And I think
It
she
does, McKenna.
that
It definitely
well.
does.
Yeah, and so she uses that well in games, and I could see her doing well in All Stars because of it. I could see her kind of just chilling, making friends with people, and ending up in the final five all of a sudden because of it.
Yeah, I think Julia is another of those like just incredibly well-rounded players. I think she's so easy to get along with for people. She's a challenge beast. She can get advantages, and she's one of the most strategic players I know. I think the only issue with her game sometimes is for most people, whether or not they have their social game is good that season has to do with how much people like them. With Julia's, it's how much she likes people because everyone loves Julia.
Literally.
She sometimes won't, if she doesn't vibe with somebody, she won't talk to them. But if she does, she will talk to them constantly and they will just love her because of she has this very energetic energy and a great sense of humor that people just love. So I could see if she has the right group of people that she can be close with, I could very easily see her win.
Completely agree. I'm so mad McKenna picked Julia. I was hoping that she wouldn't. I almost picked Julia instead of Ed. Like I was literally this close. I agree with what Matt and McKenna said. I think she's just a dynamic player. I think that she can adapt to, wherever she wants to go. She does have that ability to kind of deflect. Like if someone, wants to target her or wants to kind of go after her, like you said, Matt, she's kind of funny and a cool enough person that she can kind of turn that target away from her and then become their ally almost in a way. I think that she really focuses on the game. She really wants to win. She doesn't mess around. She's not there to make friends. Like she is there to win the game, align with who she needs to align with. She will flip. She will cut somebody. Like that's the kind of player you want to see. Like I wish we had more players like Julia on like Real Survivor. Like I think that she just plays an entertaining game. She's an entertaining person and she makes that game work for her strategically. And it's really, I think it's great. I really do. Also, she is going to just ream you, Matt, about all the nice things you said about her right here in this draft. So you better be ready for that.
She also looks at the cast. I think she's one of the most well-connected, not necessarily in quantity, but in quality. Like she has some people that she has like Fred, Tyler, Dylan that she can just she'll immediately have linked up with. And then, like I said, I just think she'll have the social game to get enough other people, enough people not willing to vote her out, that she could just, roll on through the rest of the game.
You know what Julia also has? She has that tribe like spirit. Like people want to work, like she keeps her tribe together in a sense of like communication and like rooting to win. And like I feel like she's a very like hoorah person that you want to like, cheer with and like work with. Almost in a way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, she did very well in season 2. I'm expecting her to do even better this season. I think because of the timing, she's going to have way more free time and she'll be able to make all these connections that she's going to need in the game.
Yeah.
I was going to mention all the things said about connections with Molly. I'm not saying that can translate as well with Julia. I'm not saying that people usually don't think Julia and connections, but I don't think it's as stamped on her face, so to say, like as the org if she had an org profile. And I definitely think she's up there as someone who could easily be almost as equal as Molly in this kind of regard.
Yes.
I am very excited to have Julia playing this season because back in season 2 we weren't in one-to-one chats, and I haven't actually played a game with with Julia, so I haven't seen her how she socializes with exactly. So I'm very excited to see that part, that side of her. When it comes to her game from what I've been told in terms of reputation. It's very clear how you guys mentioned it. She is someone who I feel is known to be a very hard-hitting woman in the sense of like she'll be a strong force in the game and will direct votes one way or the
Yeah.
other, and is known to be very like essentially back in season 2 she died for her life. She fell on the sword for in that scenario Chris. So I believe she was potentially getting it was going to be Chris or her, and I do think people assumed Chris had the target, so she would have been voted out. But if they assumed neither of them had an idol, um, I do I wouldn't have been too surprised if she would have made it further, at least to top 6, and whatever would have happened from there, the game could have shaken up, and maybe she would have made it to final 3 instead.
Right.
So I definitely would put some chips into the basket for Julia to make it far more easily.
She's definitely the type of player that is very, very tight with her ride or dies. She says herself that she's a terrible ally, but the best number 1 you'll ever have. The only other thing that worries me and why I would put her with Michael in the sense of I think she's either going early or she's going very, very far, doing very, very well, is because she won't be targeted like Molly for having a lot of connections, but there's 2 very, very obvious ones that people are going to be absolutely keeping their eye on with Fred and Tyler. I think there could be people that could target, depending on how the tribes are divided, Fred, Tyler, or Julia to stop them from linking up, because Fred and all 3 of them are tight with each other. So it could
Yeah.
put all of their backs.
Okay, I just gotta say, like, I love my team. Like, you guys are missing out on Team
Oh, I
McKenna.
think I got the best team.
No, I love my
We all-
team. I'll
we
say
probably
that.
all feel that way. That's the best part of this. We probably all feel
Okay,
like we have the
can I
best
do my
team.
next one? Can I make my team
Yeah.
even better?
Yes.
Okay, give me Kyle. Give me Kyle.
Okay, good. I wasn't going to pick Kyle, so this is great. I still have my pick left over.
So obviously, Kyle was the very first person to win my favorite. He is to this day still my all-time favorite that has ever played our game. And
I think that's played any game.
probably I love the way that Kyle plays, which I know that some people in the org community are not a fan of, but Kyle makes it to the end of so many games, and having hosted him, I totally see why. We watched his confessionals where he runs the numbers and he has the strategy and he says, this is what I need to do to get there. And I know that he oftentimes does end up losing in the end, but I have faith in him. I think he is a great person, and I don't know. I have all the hope in the world that Kyle is going to do well in our season, and I will probably cry when he gets voted out, but I'm manifesting get voted out. He's going to the end.
He's going to the end. I love Kyle too. I think that he's great to talk with. I understand that he gets a lot of hate around the org community. He's definitely known for backstabbing people and definitely known for, flipping and being a bitter juror, different things like that. But I think that he, can turn it around. I think that even though he has that reputation, he can still make connections in games. People still love him. People still want to talk and align with him. I think that he's okay at challenges. It depends what type of challenge it is, whether Kyle's good at it or not. But the ones that he is good at, he's very good at. So I think that, it could go either way. I can see Kyle going very early, or I can see Kyle going very far, very far. It depends on how it's going to lay out for him.
Yeah, I think Kyle is the kind of person that can get along with a lot of people. But also, he is always active. He's in a different time,
Always.
and he's still always awake and always on his phone, ready to talk to people. So he is just one person you will never have to worry about people being like, oh, no, I don't know. I just haven't really talked to Kyle much. Everyone's talking to Kyle, and chances are they love him. But he also he has this strategy. And I don't know, he just plays that kind of game where he can explain it well, which, usually he can. I could easily see him winning.
Fun enough, I have not played with Kyle yet, but obviously we have seen him play in season 1, and one of the, I wouldn't say it was necessarily a surprising thing, but one of the things very notable about Kyle is how easily he was able to maneuver in that game. Like, I really felt like Kyle was someone who was riding in the middle in that game and flowing very well, as smooth as butter almost. um, Kyle is someone who I think I would be very surprised if Kyle ends up in a pre-merge kind of boot. He's someone who,
Mhm.
like, there are people that you would risk if they either are going to go far or go get voted out early. I will genuinely be very surprised if Kyle is someone who ends up in pre-swap, let's say, because I guess swap screws can occur. But even still,
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but I do think Kyle is someone who can overcome these kinds of situations if he gets unlucky in that kind of thing. So I think all Kyle has to do is get to the individual portion and see how he can get to a similar position how he was in season 1. I genuinely cannot think of many flaws that he had on what he could have done better for that season to be. And he got MVP for a good reason. He got MVP, I believe.
I think
So
he got a lot of crap for flipping on his alliance in season 1, but to be
I guess
fair,
so.
he was absolutely accurate in that he was the bottom of the alliance. Like, if
Oh, yeah.
anyone in that alliance needed to flip, it was Kyle.
Mhm.
Like, I
Right.
think, at least from our hosting standpoint, it was a very justified, like, I need to make a move.
Reason.
Mhm.
Wasn't just like, let me screw over my people. There was merit to it.
Mhm. Saying this so much, maybe I should put Kyle up as my number 1. No. But Kyle is definitely a good player that I'm very excited to be able to see his one-on-one chats as well as alliances and whatever, how he'll socialize. I'm very excited given his reputation.
Yeah, you mentioned about him not going pre-merge. I think he plays so many games, and I think in all of those games he's going pre-merge once, which is unbelievable. Not to mention how many times he's made the end. Like I say, he's just not. He will never have the issue of I didn't talk to Kyle enough, and people just don't want to vote him out. In season 1, he got so close to winning. It was just how the numbers fell. Once they got the steal vote, the other side managed to get the numbers and
Right.
they got him. But and he makes moves at the right time. Like, he's cutthroat, but not in a way of just like, I want to make a move just to make a move. He will make the exact right move at the right time.
All right. You ready for my next pick?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so I'm torn, right? Because I'm going to have the second to last pick. So I have to make sure that the person I pick now has got to be really good because I'm going to get left with, the quote unquote bottom of the barrel. So I'm torn in my head between two people.
Can I guess
One,
the
I'm
two
a
people
little,
you're torn between?
yes, you sure can, McKenna. Who are the two people I'm torn in between?
Lauren and Fred.
Yes, those are two people I'm torn in between. So, and the reason why is because Lauren, I feel like is over the, pretty much since she's met Amber, she's been very busy. And I feel like I just don't know exactly how her active level is going to be. I think their heart is in the right place. And I think that if she's able to give the time, she's going to play a really good game. I just don't realistically know how much time she's going to have. And then there's Fred, who, like, I feel like Fred is really good. And I think a lot of people want to play with Fred. This is their opportunity to play with Fred, and they haven't been able to yet. He hasn't played, he's played some games, but especially recently, but he took a long break in between some, and I think that he's starting to get like his reputation up again as being more of an active player. But still, I feel like he could also get struck with like the unlucky bug.
So what's your
So
gun pick?
I don't know. I think I'm going to pick Lauren and then just yell at her all the time when she's not active. It's like, listen, woman, I picked you for fantasy. Like, you need to get on it. No, I wouldn't do that. It's cheating. But still, I think that Lauren, for one, Lauren is one of my best friends, so I'm a little bit biased. I think that she is an amazing player. I think that sometimes her game perception is a little off. I think that maybe she thinks that some people are in charge that aren't, or votes, are supposed to go a certain way and they don't. but she still has a good way of adapting. Even if she's on the minority, she's going to be one of the last ones to go in the minority, or if she is in the majority, she has a good chance of holding that majority, and running a good game and making it toward the end. So I've seen her make it to the end a lot, but at the same time, I've also seen games where she is off, and just is completely off of what is going on. So that's why she's a little bit lower for me, along with the active level stuff. But Lauren, I love you. You're my best friend. I think you're an amazing player. You literally hit the ballpark in social strategy and physical. So, I think that it can go either way. I just be there. just be there and be the amazing Lauren that I know that you are.
Yeah, I think Lauren was really cool to watch last season because we really saw two sides of her. I really felt like ironically, the two people you were debating between, she and Fred dominated the pre-merge. We
Yeah.
thought that they were socially the best connected. Everyone wanted to work with them. Everyone wanted them to be their number one. It was amazing.
Mhm.
And then as soon as the merge happened, they
went.
flipped. The other
Yeah.
side was in majority, and they were more on the bottom. And Lauren had to play kind of a more on the bottom underdog, how can I survive type game.
Yeah.
And she still made it to 5th place. So she
Yeah, she
kind of
definitely
showed
did.
that she can play a variety of different games, and do well with both.
And I believe she was playing 2 games at the same time, wasn't she, when she was playing Premier? Wasn't she playing another game at the same time, or maybe not? I don't remember.
I don't particularly remember
Maybe
that
not.
about Lauren. However, I do recall near the
Maybe she was
swap,
hosting Shady.
maybe near the swap, she had ended up on vacation, and I
Yeah.
feel like that was what kind of broke. Like she had a drive, not that she didn't have a drive,
I was
but
with her on
she
that
had
vacation, so I agree.
she had a rhythm going essentially, and it kind of snapped her out of it, and she was never the same. And when I say that, it's not out of, oh, she sucked or anything
Right.
like that, but like she had something going with so many connections that she was fueling and maintaining very, very well. And I feel like that small lapse of a snap made all the difference for her in that game. So it's worries me a bit that we know that she might not have the best data, because she will end up being away from her home or anything like that for a good week or two for something she's hosting, whatever that is. That being said, like we've mentioned this, both Lauren and Fred, they were dominating the robot side, as well as when they split up to their respective swap tribe, it was pretty much Lauren who had the balls of that tribe, and we'll talk about Fred later on, but same could be said about him pretty much, despite him being in the minority. I guess for Lauren, it really comes down to how much time she has on her hand and how much effort she'll give. I really can
Yeah.
see her. I think it's not that I don't have faith in Lauren, but I feel like Lauren might be someone who is a bit more suited for newbie seasons over all-star seasons, because I just feel like people will know her game, so they won't be as enamored by her compared
Right.
to people who don't know her. And it's
Right.
not she essentially is someone who I think can win over strangers a lot more than people that she's already bros with, so to say. And as well as, since there are many connections going around, but she's definitely someone who can go far in this game. And yeah, I am very excited to see her back. I'm glad she said yes to us.
Right.
Oh yeah, my turn. Yeah, I love Lauren. I think she has such a great sense of humor that people really love. It's just, I think she's just one of those people that could very easily get along with anybody. I think like we were saying before, I don't think she necessarily has to have a certain type of person for her to get along with them. And she's great in challenges. I think she's just going to be another one of those really well-rounded players. And I think she has a good reputation, but I don't necessarily see her being targeted for it. Like, people know she's good, but if it's like season 4, I think people will know that, but they're just gonna like her so much that they're gonna not worry as much about her threat level.
kind of falls the same with Julia and Molly in a way. Those three girls kind of have that same effect where people really just don't really vote them out.
Mm.
All right.
Abe, you're up.
I am going to get ice cream, but I will be able to hear you
Yeah.
guys and talk.
Okay, so my next pick is Fred. No. I do love Fred, but I just want to
I
say,
love Fred too.
I just wanted to hear Mammers' reaction.
Woo! No, I highly doubt that Fred's going to be one of the last two left, so it's okay.
Okay. This is tough. Even though there are 6 people remaining, it's just tough picking just one of them, knowing that the other people likely won't be options anymore, even though they're all great picks. So I feel like I am going to take, I'm not even sure if this is a safe pick or a risky pick. This is as weird as it sounds. I am going to pick an MVP. This player had put in so much resilience in their game and was able to put in a great amount of effort, as well as put it in the other way around, that they had a great shot to win, obviously. And from the start to finish, I could definitely see them having a pot at the end to get there. My pick is Cameron. Cameron is someone who I remember straight up from Broski. I knew that he had a reputation of being a villain. I thought of him a bit more as dodgy as a player at the time,
Yeah.
and I was like, what the heck, kind of. I didn't have high hopes for Cameron back in season 3. Come here, like season 3 rolls around. He was on one of the more chaotic tribes, and he was calm as a cucumber the entire time. There
Yeah.
was in the pre-swap one round in particular, well, a good couple of rounds before the swap occurred, where every one of that tribe was a target. Their name popped up there, except for Cameron. Literally, he was the only one not. That's how greatly he aligned himself with, given the
Yeah.
drama and chaos that ensued. It makes me believe that probably Cameron might need drama or to survive a bit more compared to some other people, but this is all start, so I think it will happen. There will be easier votes according to other people, but I think drama will easily occur on what target names to be. So I say this because I feel like I've seen Cameron be pre-merge before. So I know it's a half dodge pick, whatever. He was the person that I was thinking whether to put him instead of Molly. So I'm glad I still have him to pick. It worked out. That being said, with Cameron, he also, like, everyone expects Cameron to be strategic, but we know it for the fact that he managed to game the reverse the vote twist that we had in season 3 and successfully saved Derek, which easily could have screwed over his side and take him out. The one thing that ended up being his demise in that season was how perhaps maybe somewhere between, so ironically, he has a quality a bit similar to Chris Miller, where he is good. He can easily be good with both sides, and it has a great connection to them, is honest, whatever. So I recall in season 3, essentially, he had told one of the sides, he after the vote, or even though it wasn't a vote, that he wasn't planning to flip. And that's when people became a bit extra sus of Cameron. And then the vote after that, he did actually flip, which caused Molly essentially to let him go, so it's one of these things that if he can just manage that kind of situations that you'd find in the mid-merge, then
Yeah.
he can go far. I was rooting hardcore for Cam as well as other people, obviously, but I was surprised of how heroic he was in that season, as well as how well reasonable and rational by a great degree. I really think that he was a top tier if not the top tier player of season 3 that season. So I'm very excited to see him here.
Yeah, I think Cam is, first of all, such an amazing strategic player. He really understands what's going on. And like I said with Kyle, he's just the kind of person that knows when to make those moves usually. I think what could screw him over is just that reputation, because he is such a cutthroat player, which is what could either get him the win or get him voted out. But he's also just so damn funny that I think emotionally he could do so well with this cast. I think we've got a cast with a great sense of humor. So I could see Cam being somebody that people really vibe with, you know.
Oh yeah.
I do. Now that you
My
say that,
one,
I could see like a Funny Kids alliance at some point, because we have a lot of people. I lived for Cameron sending all the memes he would make to his confessional.
so
Yes.
funny.
It was the best. It always would brighten my day. And I knew almost nothing of Cam before he played season 3. And I think it was one of you two, Matter Cave, said, "Oh, I think he's really smart. He sometimes goes pre-merge. I don't really know why," or something like that. And then I watched him like kill it in our game.
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm sure we'll say this when we talk about Cyrus too, but I really like when people play our game and it is just like very different from what I've heard about them. I think I said that with Molly.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
People like Cam are like one of the reasons that you love hosting. Like the personality, the strategy, the like. I didn't have negative expectations of him, but he wasn't someone that I was like, "Oh, this is the OJ that's gonna probably come in and dominate. I expect nothing less." And so then when he did it, I was like extra impressed. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this guy's so smart. He's doing all this cool stuff. Look at him go." So I like your pick. Good job.
I got my kind of approval.
I love Cameron. I think I've met Cameron in person. I was the first order he got to meet in person. But I love him. I think he's a very good guy. He's good to talk to. My only worry about Cameron is I think strategically he gets bored. And I think that he, like, even when stuff isn't going his way, he really wants it to, and he will make moves when he's not supposed to. I think he has a hard time with game management in the sense of timing. But otherwise, I think he has the right idea. He knows what he's supposed to do. Sometimes I think he just gets a little mixed up in the when to do it. And that's the only thing that worries me about Cameron is I can definitely see, it being like the third boot of the game, and there's not really much going on other than maybe one alliance, voting a certain way. And I could see Cameron just trying to mess that up, too quickly or, but I think that if he can get a good hold in the pre-merge, that he will do well in merge, but he's got to get to the pre-merge first.
Oh yeah. I recall kind of like he essentially, with what you're saying about the timing, his timing wasn't that off in season 3, but I recall how annoyed he would get, for good reasons, by the way, in terms of what bogus offers he would receive, or random people would get annoyed about, again, ridiculous stuff. And he would be like, "Oh my gosh, why am I playing with these people?" kind of thing.
Right.
And he was venturing, his aim was that would be his last game, excluding invites. So I really need him to play like that again, in the sense of that this is one of those games that he won't it's not as likely that he'll play again, because he, like I said, he played as though that would be his last game he'd ever play, and what a way to go out if that would have been the case.
Right.
Like, obviously, if he gets pre-merge, despite me being sad, I wouldn't be disappointed because it's definitely a high caliber, but at the same time, I do hope that he would maintain his self-control that he had back in season 3. That would definitely be needed for his success.
Right.
I don't know if someone else said it.
We can move on if Matt wants to. Matt's ready.
Okay.
All right, so I clearly have a very risky team so far. I'm gonna go with someone I think is gonna be a safer pick, and I think you guys are gonna be upset that I got him. I'm gonna go with Fred.
Of course.
I think I'm surprised he wasn't picked way sooner. I think he's another person. There's about a few people so far that like I just think pretty much anybody can get along with him because he's just so easygoing and so has just such a like relaxed energy. That I could see him being one of these people that it's just like nobody wants to vote out. What? How are you gonna vote out little old Fred? He's just sitting there eating animal crackers. What?
Right.
Nothing to nobody. Um, Everybody's gonna love him. The only way I see him going early is what I mentioned earlier that the trio of Tyler, Fred, Julia. I see one of them going early for that reason, possibly.
Yeah.
But if he can get past that and get around that perception of his connections, I could see him going super far.
Julia will be the glue to hold that together. If Tyler, I don't see Tyler and Fred
Oh no,
coming together.
they're also
Yeah, they're good friends.
Oh,
they're
are
close.
they?
Oh yeah.
They-
Okay.
And people do know. I think it's a known thing for a lot of people that they have worked very, very closely in games. I forgot which game it was.
Okay.
They were like super tight.
No, I did
Um,
not know that for some reason.
yeah, so I could see that.
Okay.
When it comes to Fred, I believe I played probably his third game or second long game back in Epic. And both Epic Season 4 as well as Premier Season 4, Fred is someone who easily can like magnetizes people. He gets on calls with people. He makes sure he doesn't just gets included in the alliances, but he puts the initiative and makes you feel extra special.
Right.
When it comes to, and I do think Fred is definitely due for a win. The one thing that's his social game is up there for sure. The one thing that worries me essentially is sometimes Fred can either spread himself too much or something, and then wouldn't have enough energy to put into other players. I recall, so just like I said, Lauren, her snap lapse was when she went on vacation. Fred's one was when he ended up playing Shady. And that's when I
Yeah.
think he had spread himself out so much he couldn't maintain the same people. And Fred is someone who also takes his off days very seriously,
Yeah.
which is totally fine, but some people might get weirded out by that. So in certain aspects, there could be some orange flags or whatever, where some people would then be able to realize, oh, I'm actually not that up there with Fred, because that happened to occur back in Premiere, and and that also occurred with certain people in Epic. So that's something that I would be a bit afraid for Fred. But as long as he has nothing to do, like if he has a free schedule and would put the same amount of effort and stays consistent with it, or at least doesn't need to put the same effort as season 4, just stays consistent with his social relationships, I think he would be able to maintain it. That said, like back in season 4, he had like broken some, burned bridges, and it was really easy for him to repair them as if nothing ever happened. So if anyone, honestly, out of this entire cast, if anyone ends up making a blunder, Fred is definitely like top 3 to recover back from said blunder, I feel like,
Yeah.
and bounce back.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. I fully expect Fred to be like all in this season. I know he had the whole like I played Shady at the same time, and he even said like I think that that hurt my social game in this one. And but he was very aware of that, and I don't know if he changed his plans, but he has said like I'm not playing anything else during this. I think he has a couple of friends. I picture him being very invested, to be honest.
Oh,
And saw what invested Fred looks like, and it was amazing. I remember us having conversations after like 5 boots. We started with 21 people. We were at like the final 16. It was like the swap still, not like still a couple votes to go into a merge. And we're like, okay, who is the #1 person that if they get voted out tomorrow, they're still invited to All Stars because they did so well. And we were all like, oh, it's Fred.
It's Fred.
Fred
Yeah.
gets voted out tomorrow. Fred is someone who could go pre-merge, and we're still ready to invite him to
Mhm.
All Stars.
Which, if it's not obvious, there's not a single pre-merge pick here. So Fred would have definitely broken barriers and standards.
Yeah.
Right, I think we can move on.
Pick. Last pick.
I've been so divided between 2 people that I think are similar.
Do it. Do it. I know what you're gonna do.
No, I obviously say it for this one. I think I'm divided between. You know what? No, I'm gonna go with Bill. I think Bill is somebody that, despite doing well often, still tends to surprise people. I think just because of the age, people just never see it coming. And he will say himself like, oh, they're gonna vote me out because I'm the older guy and this and that, and I'm not, and my social game's not as good as because I'm the older guy. But I disagree. I see Bill as somebody that, like, despite being older than I think he's the oldest person to cast, Trey doesn't mind me saying, is someone that could just talk to a 25-year-old and it never seems like there's any age gap at all. He just can get along with everybody. He's just so easy to get along with that I think, like, in a cast of All Stars, it's huge threats. I think Bill's somebody that can just play super well and just slip through before anybody catches on to it. I think he can just, bail on through the game, and people won't notice until it's too late. I think the only reason he would go early is just that perception of his age, but he's not bad at challenges either. I've seen him outlast like 15 people in an endurance challenge.
I mean, I don't think that age really is a factor though in the org community. I mean, we've seen like Mama D and even Katie, we had said earlier, is a little bit older than the average org player. Like, they don't struggle with their age at all. I feel like I think Bill would be fine.
Hmm.
Obviously, Gabe, we know that you love Bill.
Oh yeah, like if it's not obvious, it was between. I said MVP, looking at both Bill and Cameron. in
I was
terms of
wondering
what to
that.
say.
Yeah.
I love Bill to death. He is probably my favorite orger of Premiere, if not all time. Bill is someone who is easily underestimated. Like Matt had mentioned, I think rather than age being a factor, like, I do recall that in the pre-merge he wasn't as active essentially, and that would be my only small worry. But
Yeah.
good God, like the guy made it through the merge, had 2 idols in his back, which he never needed, or if only idols could be used till Final Four. Don't worry, we're not gonna do that, but still. Like, you see, like, I'm definitely biased, but it's so hard to see Bill and not root for the guy. Oh my gosh,
Oh,
I
it
love him
is.
too
You're
much.
right.
I think
Talk about
he
another
is
funny person too.
Oh
He
yeah,
is hilarious. Oh yeah.
he is someone, by the way, who, like, you hear me say this a lot, but like, in his season of the second swap, he was the middle person. He was the person without an advantage, and yet he was the person that I would have expected to make it through to the merge. And that's when his game kind of gets boosted. I guess the small worry I have about him is just as well that he is someone who I see more as loyal rather than cutthroat. And I hope he would end up with allies that would treat him the same way. rather than as an expendable target. That being said, like back in season 3, despite his loyalty, he still was someone who would talk to both sides. Like him and Derek have a very underrated relationship, in my opinion, which never developed into anything, but I think it kind of shows how both Derek and Bill were people that didn't mind kind of sparring face to face and try and essentially deflect the targets off of each other in a very subtle way, which I don't think ever got picked up on.
Yeah, I loved Bill too. And
Yes.
I'm glad that you mentioned the right before the merge, the post swap when the tribe was just Tyler, Olivia, and Bill, right?
Mhm.
Gabe, correct me if I'm wrong. And it like Bill should not have been the middle person in that, but he made himself the middle person where if they had gone to tribal, he would have been picking who went home. And I think I remember us sitting on the call where he kind of well like went back and forth and like convinced each of them that the other person would have voted for them, and he did such a good job with that. And I think what you said is true, where he's loyal and he's such a good guy, but because he's like that, if he needs to tell a little white lie or if he needs to do something sneaky, he's getting away with it because
Mhm.
you
Right.
know Bill and you love Bill. And so you're going to believe what Bill just told you, even if it's not true.
To be fair, he didn't lie in the second swap, so he uses the truths to his advantage. But yeah,
Yeah,
you're right.
you
Mhm.
would believe him though.
Mhm. I'm trying to recall. Oh yeah, Olivia had the veto. Um, So I'm just because I remember he didn't have the advantage, and I'm like, what did each person have? I remember Tyler had the no-go and could have
Mhm.
the safety without power and could have forced them to go to fire, which, you know, like Bill smartly goes up to Tyler and tells him, no matter what happens, you don't need to use it.
Right.
Basically eliminating there not being the possibility of Bill not use going fire against Olivia, and you know, uh like Bill's really a really great player, at least for Premier. I don't know about other games he's played, but I'm very invested in Bill despite him not being my pick.
He's also such a level-headed guy.
Mhm.
Uh, I mean, he even has a catchphrase. It's a game. I think that serves him really well because he is great at talking game. Like
Yeah.
he's someone that when I played with him, I enjoyed talking game with him because he's such a like level-headed and very straightforward kind of guy without necessarily giving away too much, but just like this is what I want to do, but I'm willing to hear you out. Okay, well here's my thoughts on this. And I think because of that, he can really get things done and can get his way without having to be aggressive and having to say like, no, we have to do this, we have to do this. He'll just talk to
Right.
you, try to find a compromise, and a lot of the time he can win somebody over that way.
All right, Gabe, who's next?
Oh gosh, this
If you don't
it
pick,
doesn't.
if you don't pick him, you're a fake fan. If you don't pick him, you're a fake fan.
Yeah,
This
pick a
is
spot.
very, very hard if it's not obvious.
It is.
And I'm pretty sure Mammers is just goading me, so I don't pick the person that she wants to pick. Each one of these players has a style to them, and they all can excel in the game. It's tough, but I'm going to take a chance and pick Olivia in this case. So
Fake
I have,
fan. I'm telling
uh,
Cyrus.
I'll, I'll get to Cyrus soon, like when he gets picked. I love
I'm
Cyrus.
just kidding. I know
Um,
you do.
I also love Olivia, which is, or at least I love Pip. So Pip, the real reason why I'm picking Pip is because has feathers, he has a beak, he puts up with Olivia, and made it to the end, the
There's
first
the award
mascot to
right
do
there.
so. Okay, back to Olivia. Sh Olivia essentially was Bill's duo who end up doing what Bill didn't and have that cutthroat nature that Bill had. They have a lot of similarities. So anything pro Bill translated well to being a pro Olivia thing and vice versa.
They were
So
they were a big duo, right? In season 3, they were a huge
yeah,
duo, correct?
Bill went up
Yeah.
to Olivia, told her, "Hey, I really want to duo up with you," and she could have went with different connections because they never play together, and
Mhm.
they worked well. Ironically, I don't think they'll have that kind of deep connection that they did. I don't think Bill is interested, and we're getting to like near the end of our pick, so there will be certain things that I'd be afraid of. So in Olivia's case, I am afraid of her activity levels in the pre-merge. I really hope that that wouldn't be an issue, but she definitely needed Tyler to help her out in the first swap. That being said, once second swap hits, she had the mindset of, look at Tyler, how well he is running this game. I want Tyler out. And
Yeah.
she ends up being on the same side as Tyler, on she never votes out Tyler, but she is ready and aware of the placements of people and how a game is going. I hope, on all hope, that she'll make it far, and her timings are well.
Mhm.
But like she's won the game, so we don't need to
I was gonna
ask.
say, I'm
Can
like,
she?
isn't it crazy that she's a winner and she's one of the last picks? Like,
Like, I wouldn't say it's that great. Crazy given I. It's essentially I haven't seen her play in a while, so as long as she can get back into the game, no worries, then she can easily excel herself.
right.
Socially, she is great. She's willing to make a move pretty much whenever, but also still has the self-control to consider when to do it and when not, obviously. Um, I would love to see her reunite again with Bill. I really think
Yeah.
those two works so well as being a duo. But she also was, in my opinion, had a really great duoship with Molly, even though again it's one of the underrated ones as well as AJ, where she just needs someone. I know. I think Bill would have been a great partner, but that being said, Olivia is someone who can win challenges as well as socially maneuver without really needing an
Right.
advantage. She really is great at that as a part, especially.
Yeah, I don't know how, I'm kind of going to repeat what you said, but I know that Olivia is someone who, when she talks, she says that she hates a lot of people.
Hmm.
And for hating a lot of people, she really is good at making people love and like her.
Oh
E-
yeah.
Yes.
Even if she says she hates them. And I remember, I know we just talked about Bill. I remember we started talking, like you just said, Gabe, when we were doing awards and we said best duo, and we were between Tad and Derek and Olivia and Bill. And
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
think like the reasoning in my head was Tad and Derek are cutest duo, but Bill and Olivia are the best because, like you said, they worked so well together strategically. And then for Olivia, on top of that, I do remember, like, I credit Molly, well, to Molly as well. Like, if outside of giving credit to Molly, if there was someone else to give credit to for Molly flipping, I really think it was
Hmm.
Olivia. And then,
Mhm.
you know, she wins in a tie vote 4-1 where AJ has to break the tie. She wins because of her bond with AJ. Like, she really did bond with people in a way that I don't think other people saw. And that's how,
Yeah.
even though she wasn't always as talkative, she does, like, she gets carried through, she does the work too, but she is able to float through games because of that stuff.
Right.
Oh God, are you guys gonna make me say something nice about Olivia?
Yes. You said something nice about Julia.
No,
Just
no, I'm
insane.
kidding. I will admit, I've said it before. I was very much rooting for her in season 3. I was very happy that she won. I think she played a very
Mhm.
solid, well-rounded game. Like you guys said, I think her social game can be really good. She has two types. There's two types of Olivia. There's the one that hates everybody, and then there's like the super nice, like energetic Olivia that most people see. And the one thing I think, let's be honest, most of her best ideas come from Pip. So I think if she listens to Pip, takes his opinions into account, I think she could do well again.
I'm recalling one small thing. So season 3 was the only season there was a rock draw, just forced 4-4 back in final eight. And I remember she had lost a very good ally, or at least a decent ally in Triton who was on her side, who they had each other's back. And she was always midway of the winner predictions. Somehow, after that, like getting realigned back to the bottom, after that, like she rose to the top somehow between socially and strategically, where she was first in the winner predictions from then on out, somehow, which when you think about it on paper, just does not make any sense. So she
Right.
is someone who can be underestimated and yet overcome the odds at the same time.
I think that she's a good player. I hosted her during Broski when she made it to the end, and then she made it to the end in your guys' game and won. So her track record is not bad. My worry for, like you said, we're getting to the end. My worry for
Mhm.
Olivia is she just hasn't been as active around enough to be able to maybe have these connections. She played in season 3. Season 4 was a big season, and I think a lot of this people who played in season 4 have also played with these people, in other games that are playing, where Olivia hasn't had that ability to play with these other people. So it's it's just a give or take. Is she gonna get in there and take it seriously and really try, or is she gonna get in there and kind of throw her hands up and say, I don't really want to do this pre-merge, and give up? I just don't know. And I'm not saying Olivia's like that, but it's all going to be on how she feels at the time, and it's all going to be on how her tribe is going to be set. She could get stuck on a tribe with people that she like McKenna said she does not like, and then what is she going to do? So I feel like yeah. So we'll see. I think that she can overcome it. You're right. She's an overcomer. She can break through and play that dynamic, really good game. And we just got to see it from her, and she's got to be willing to do it. And I just don't know if she will. Hopefully she will, because she already has her W. She doesn't need to prove anything.
I think what it is, maybe, when you get to final 13 or whatever, it's like, okay, I just need to get through 10 more rounds. And maybe from
Yeah.
final 21, it's a bit daunting to be like, oh, I need to get through 18 rounds, kind of thing. Oh, I have a
Mhm.
whole month versus, oh, I only
Mhm.
have 2 weeks to go of a game.
Right.
I think maybe that's what's kind of like would help Olivia to just feel a bit more motivated. Like, it's only gradual that the more time passes, the better she'll be for sure.
Right.
But does anyone have anything else to say?
I think that Pip could be the secret, like he
Pip is
usually
good.
is.
Okay. Do you want to take it away, Mammers, with the next pick?
Oh my goodness. Obviously I'm gonna pick Cyrus because I have no idea who the other guy is. I did not host the season. But Cyrus will be my next pick. I think that obviously Gabe's favorite. He's devastated. Devastated he didn't end up with him. But I will gladly take Cyrus on my team. I think that Cyrus really proved himself in our game more than any other game that he's played. He's very, very passionate. He's very, very, into it. We all really love Cyrus for Premier. Like, he just really, really cares. And you just don't get that from a lot of players. And he took that ability to care and turned it into a really good game. Like, we thought he was going to win straight up. Like, we saw a path for Cyrus to win last season, and the jury was not against the idea either. So, I mean, he can do it. He wants to so bad, and maybe this will be his season. He can finally make it to FTC like he wants to. So I think his confessionals are fantastic. I think that his, hilarious, very entertaining. He plays off well. I just think that he just needs to learn when to turn it off and turn it down. And if he can learn how to do that, then he would be a better player.
Yeah, and another thing about Cyrus, he can be very convincing, and it's not like people don't really see him coming, but they were in season 4. He was behind some of the season. But I've said this with someone else, forget who, but like in this cast of big names and big threats and all that, Cyrus is somebody that could slip through, but still actually build a resume. and then make it the end and be like, no, I did this and I did this and I did this.
Yeah.
I obviously love Cyrus with a passion. He is amazing. The one thing, like, so I had skipped him over in my picks. So the one thing that I love about Premier is how we break the stereotypes of players. Like Molly can be a villain. Cam can be a hero. There is Cyrus who can be a winner. And that's the thing that ironically makes me hesitant in the sense of not that Cyrus didn't have a winning game in season 4. My fear is because we're putting in people, it a lot of these augurs are connected augurs. So the stereotypes from the org community, I feel like will flood back in a bit more. So this will be a time where Premier will be tested. And I feel like Cyrus is known to get like a 10th place kind of position, maybe 9th, that kind of thing. And
He's known
I
for it. I'll tell you.
and I wouldn't and essentially kind of like looked a bit over. I recall in
Mhm.
season 4, if they went to just one more tribal in the pre-merge, he would have been booted. So it makes me a bit fearful if the numbers just don't line up. And it's hard to say why, as in I've played him with him once, and maybe it's because he's looking for a bigger move or some sort of maintenance, but he is such a lovely guy to play with and to
Yeah.
socialize with. Like, I find it, I really hope someone would see him and align close with him. And they don't need to socially drag him. He will definitely be active, on point, and well, I think as long as he has self-control and gets through the game, he would do really well. He is married to having the one big move, which you do need for sure. If he
He takes it a
keeps it
little
as
seriously. Yeah.
oh yeah, no, I love it. If he takes
Yeah.
it as seriously as he did in season 4 and waits till later timing, I would be so happy. So one of the smallest things I recall back in Greed, he had chosen immunity instead of advantage. And it was a very entertaining day, I just want to say. But his reasoning was just the idea of not to like waiting it out, which I was a bit surprised by that Cyrus would do that. But it gave me hope of his attitude in the game that he actually does have the timings to it. And I am very grateful that we are giving him a spot in All Stars because he definitely deserves it. And
Agreed.
I feel like he's overlooked in the rest of the org community, which is
He
a
is.
very big shame given how great he was in our season. And I hope we'll continue to break the stereotype in the scenario in Cyrus.
I
Yeah.
would love to see Cyrus do well. I feel like Premier we've had a lot of people that have like, this was kind of their big break. Not like as far as popularity, but like their first, like we had 3 of our 4 winners where it was their first win, and that kind of thing. And I feel like Cyrus, this was his game that he was able to like finally shine, you know?
Yeah.
It was his highest placement as well. Like 40, his best was 6th apparently, and before that was
Yep.
9th.
I mean, I think Cyrus may be the like most collectively loved person of this entire hosting team. Like, I think in my opinion, it's between him and Jody, but I think Cyrus might be the most entertaining player that we have ever had. And what's so cool is that that's
Confessionals for sure.
not even why he's an all-star. Like
No.
he really earned it with the gameplay. He genuinely did, and the entertainment is just like on top of that.
An extra scoop of ice cream, not even a cherry.
And I think what's good for Cyrus is I don't think he has any best friends in the cast, but he doesn't have any beef with anyone.
Oh,
I could see
That's
him
true.
doing sort of a role that, you know, like maybe 2 people here had a bad experience at another game that we have no idea about, and they're both going to try to pick up Cyrus. to vote them out, to vote out the other one instead of targeting Cyrus. I think
Cyrus was one of my allies in Rorg, and I did not want him to go home when he went home. I told everyone I was not going to vote Cyrus that round, so don't count on me as a vote because I'm not going to vote him. And then he ended up going that round, but not by much. Like it wasn't a blowout vote. You know what I'm saying? Like he was able to he can hold his own.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is I think
Yeah.
as long as he doesn't as long as he's not too much too soon, I think that he could, like, no one's gonna get mad at Cyrus. We remember
Right.
our moment of last season was when Dylan asked Cyrus, who did you vote for? And Cyrus said you. And Dylan still almost played the legacy advantage on Cyrus to keep him safe. Like he still almost did. And then we watched how hard he fought in the final immunity challenge, and you just can't not
Right.
for Cyrus.
Oh yeah. It's rare thinking
All
about
right.
it, but definitely out
McKenna,
there.
round us.
All right, and so I get Brad, which is a steal that he was left to me, an absolute steal. Once again, contributing to the best team, Team McKenna.
Debatable.
What'd you say?
I said debatable.
But I think Brad is another one that was just a lot of fun throughout the season. Brad was good at getting advantages. He got in with a lot of people. I have a memory of in season 2, there was a group of 4, and it was Brad and Michael and Jody and Robert. And the 2, Michael and Jody, were gonna flip. And we just talked about how much we love Michael and Jody. But when we thought that Brad was going home, like if that tribe had lost, when we thought that Brad might be going home 3rd, we were sitting in the hosting chat like, no, this can't happen. We were praying that tribe was going to win immunity because no, don't vote out Brad. We love him. And he was so into the theme, which I think he won biggest fan, correct me if I'm wrong, but he was so into The Office, and I don't know how into Survivor he is. I have to imagine he's at least watched it, but he was a very passionate player. And that is always something that is so much fun to host.
He hosts QC, so I'm pretty sure he's a very active Survivor fan. But yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Good.
Okay. Since I think McKenna finished that, Brad is someone who I think it was very weird. He had a very weird luck of the draw kind of set back in his season, and he still made it all the way to 5th place. But remember, he is someone essentially, for members in case you doesn't know, who is very ride or die with his whole tribe. Like he got put in the tribe, and he's going all in on this.
That's very Leanne.
But for sure, he also has the strategy in a team sense, as well as competes very well competitively, physically. And socially, he's up there.
I was gonna say, how's he socially?
He is active for sure. And he essentially would have been ride or die for that foursome. And also he knew Chris, the eventual winner, from a different game. And so that was his only other connection that he had going into the game. The biggest thing for sure is, to me, he could have easily been someone who would get swap screwed because he might be seen as very obviously going down with the tribe. I think that would have, if Brad ended up being 3rd boot, 4th boot, whatever boot pre-swap, I would have definitely put that as a flaw to both Michael and Jody personally, because he was so invested in being loyal. His loyalty ended up being the reason why Robert goes home over Brad. Basically, maybe it was because it was his first time, but the thing that kind of rubbed that duo the wrong way was Brad might have been because he was like the leader of the tribe without saying he was. It wasn't seen as like that maybe things were going through him as much and they wanted to be the
Yeah.
center of the power. And but eventually they realize at the final 10, final 9 that Brad is 100% going to stick loyal to them. So they blindside Robert to keep Brad with them because they know Brad is going to be that loyal. And eventually, I
Right.
currently can't even remember essentially what had happened in the final 5 for things to occur, but I recall that he was potentially to be booted before I see the Jody boot. He might have been the target that they tried to blindside, but instead they take out Jody again because Brad is so good at sticking with his people. It's going to be hard seeing Brad in this kind of cast because I feel like Brad is someone outside of this community at
Oh,
this point
definitely.
in time.
Yeah.
And he is someone who he, he probably works a lot better in a 2-tribe game rather than a 3-tribe with what we've seen. But to be fair, we haven't seen him play in a 3-tribe game. And apparently he has won before, and it was specifically an All-Stars game. So of all the people, like maybe we did a loss and should have chosen him a lot prior, he definitely has a resume in his org profile to win. So just because he happens to be the last pick doesn't mean he's out of it, for sure not.
Right.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like him being the last pick doesn't do his game justice or like
Yes.
our perception of him, because he was one of those people we first of all were just rooting for, and second of all just thought he was absolutely killing it.
Yeah.
I want to say for the record, this I feel like this cast is so strong that like
Yes.
for all the people that were
It
picked,
really is.
I means very little because I could very easily see this being completely flipped and wouldn't be surprised. Like I could see McKenna picking Kyle, of course, or
Number
Right.
one.
they was picking, Lauren and Cyrus, be picking Fred and Bill.
If Antonio wasn't our super pick, that would have changed everything. It would have changed the way that we would have picked completely.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send this picture, by the way, to our host chat. while I'm
I'll
thinking
save
about
it and send it as well.
Too
But
late, already did it.
okay.
But yeah, the other thing with Brad is he was the one I was considering between when I picked Bill. I think Brad is just a natural born leader, but not in the way that some other people in the cast would be, where they're just going to be very aggressive. It's not that he has to be aggressive. He's just somebody that people are just going to put their trust in. And if he's on a side, there's a pretty good chance people are going to be just talking about it as Brad's side versus the other side. I mean, in season 2, he had people that weren't even really closely aligned with him, giving them all of their Shroot bucks to buy an advantage because they're just like, well, if somebody's gonna have an advantage, I trust Brad. If we're all in agreement that we're cool with Brad getting it, let's just give everything to Brad. He didn't even have to do much. People were just immediately like,
Right.
that's cool with me. I want Brad to have the advantage. And I could see if people put that same trust in him. And he just gets a really good, solid group that's going to reciprocate that loyalty. He could easily do well. He could be the centerpiece, the glue of a very, very strong alliance that could win the game.
Yeah.
I'm trying to recall, was that the Kali Kapoor advantage or was it a different advantage?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. All right. No, Brad is like, he's obviously, you know what, actually, McKenna, do you want to say something?
No, you're good.
Okay. Brad, like Matt had said, can be overlooked just because of the connection stuff, but his charisma works a bit different than the sort of, we had mentioned the idea of how people like Bill or Katie, like they talk to a 20-year-old and it's normal. And I do recall, I'm pretty sure he's like a youth leader or some sort of that kind of line. But I do think he still has a bit more of a father-like figure rather than like a friend equal to you or whatever. So I'm not sure how that impacts in the sense of it could be in someone's favor, in their favor, cause it's a kind of relationship that is different than normal per se, that you wouldn't find in the org community, or it could go against him. And it's weird. I feel like Brad is someone who I would expect to do a little better in a newbie season than an all-star season, but clearly his org profile says otherwise. So like I'll just go with the stats and say that Brad has a good chance as well, for sure, to make it far.
Yeah, I kind of see Brad, as far as connection goes, as the anti-Michael, whereas Michael, I think, could
Mhm.
his relationships from season 2 could really screw him over. Brad, even though he doesn't have a lot of connections, the ones he has from season 2 are going to be very solid. I mean, he's very good friends with Chris, and I don't know how many people would know that outside of season 2, but I
Right.
think even people he
Alright.
didn't work with, other than maybe Julia, I just feel like everybody from season 2 left that season with a very good opinion about Brad.
I think from season 2, all things Michael wouldn't. This isn't to dunk on Brad, but like Michael definitely is not interested to work with anyone in season 2 other than Jodie. Julie, I don't think had the best relationship going out of season 2 with Brad. So it's really Robert and Chris, I believe. Unless I'm missing someone, I think. Oh, Jodie, obviously.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
that's what I'm saying. Other than
And
Mike and Julia, I feel like not just the connections, but just the reputation. Like those people all know, yeah, you can
mhm.
trust Brad. He's not bullshitting. Like when he says you can trust him, like he means it.
Duoship wise, Chris and Brad, they are playing Tar together. So like normally, you know how we said, for
Oh my
instance,
gosh, they are. I'm in that game.
oh my gosh,
Wait,
okay.
what?
Um,
Are they
anyways,
a team? They're a
yes, they're a
team.
team.
I knew that
Yes.
they were both playing, but I
Okay,
just
then maybe the
didn't
no
think
people won't know.
I don't think it
Um,
registered that they were partners.
okay. Um, I lost my train of thought, but it's gonna come back. I was gonna say, normally when we said, for instance, Derek will do better if Tad isn't there. I think, I think Chris might, ironically now I chose Chris, like it could be some sort of a hindrance if Brad's there, if people know the connection, they're like, oh, what's happening there? But Chris being there might actually help Brad if Chris is upfront about it, saying, hey, I know him from my season, for instance. He's a very loyal player, blah blah blah. And I think if Chris does that, that would actually propel Brad forward and even, like help Chris have numbers on his side if he chooses a
Mhm.
more dominant to play a bit more dominantly. So we'll see, but I'm definitely up there.
Yeah, no, and I think they will, because I think that is essentially what they did in season 2. They just told everyone immediately, like, this is a good friend of mine. I don't know if that will affect the game or not, but just so you know, like, I'll be honest with that. The thing is with that also, it's not, I think Brad's a bit unique in the sense of other people are going to have connections where they're going to think, I want to work with this person because I can use this connection, I can get close with them and work with them. I think Brad is someone that Jodie, Robert, and Chris aren't just going to say, I want to work with them. They're going to tell other people, we should work with him. We need to pull in Brad.
Right.
But believe me, I've seen it. Brad's someone we need in our alliance. He
Mhm.
would be a great addition to whatever alliances there are.
Oh yeah. So I think that rounds us out. Unless someone else had any comments. McKenna, did you want to say something?
No, I was just gonna say woohoo. We did it.
Okay.
Yeah, we did it.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, I'm
Okay.
responding to messages.
So that
Like,
rounds it out.
Final five.
Sorry.
But I can't
What'd
wait
you
for
say?
the final five. Look at them all.
Mhm.
You're so funny, McKenna. You're so
I'm
funny.
Oh
just
my gosh.
podcast, if I do say so myself.
I
I
feel
am
like I have the
so
best team. I don't know why. I feel like I'm just gonna beast.
I think all the teams are pretty good, but I am confident in mine, as I'm sure everyone else is about theirs.
Well, then
know.
Yeah. Like I'm not sure if because if I'm not even sure because looking at Antonio kind of
Oh,
where
I would
he
have picked
would.
Antonio. I would have picked Antonio first if he was available.
So you would have put him first on your list. I
Yeah,
think.
he would have been first on my list if he went through the
Mhm.
super pick. I thought I said that in the beginning. Maybe I didn't.
Uh-huh.
Were either of you gonna
Um,
pick him, Gabe or Matt?
So with my current list, I think I would have. It's hard to say, but I think I would have kept up until Cam still. But Antonio really is a great player.
Yeah,
My
I
first
know.
3 picks were Antonio, Katie, and yeah, Antonio, Katie, and Dylan. I think were my top 3 picks, if I remember right.
Matt McKenna, where would you have placed Antonio given your current list?
maybe first or no, not first, maybe like second or third, but because I feel like Antonio is the kind of person that can do really well in returning seasons. I feel like
Yeah.
Fair.
when you have all these big players also being aggressive, he's not
He
standing
plays
out.
well with it.
Yeah, he fits in rather than being the one person being too aggressive. If everyone's being aggressive, Antonio can just kill it because he can, when he's aggressive, he can do it really well.
To be honest, I
Matt,
knew
there's a message in the main chat.
I knew that Robert and Dylan were going to be my first 2 picks, and I did not expect Antonio to be around by my 3rd pick. So I don't think I really thought about it that much because I
But-
knew who I thought would go early, and I knew who my first 2 would be, if that makes sense.
Right.
Unless anybody else has anything they'd like to add.
No,
That's
Mazel tov,
Um,
guys, to a great.
Right.
Great.
Yep,
Thanks
we
everybody
will-
for watching. We're very excited to see the season and see
I hope
what.
you all prove us wrong, every single one of you.
For real.
Yeah,
I hope you
Chris,
don't
you
get
better
mad at
not
us.
win.
Remember, this is all game. We all
Yeah.
love you. There's no hard feelings. Don't get mad at us because we picked Pip over half of you. So
All right.
Okay,
Well,
guys.
thanks everybody for watching. That's all we've got for you tonight, and let's get ready for an amazing season.
See you guys.
thanks,
Bye.
guys.